Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Mte Ho Chi Minh City 2025.
You don't need.
On behalf of the team, I would like to thank you everyone for joining us today. This event is about building a strong foundation, bringing energy, and inspiring future growth. So thank you so much for being part of this wonderful journey. My name is Nhung, and it is my honor to be your host at MTE. Now, I have the pleasure to introduce my boss, the founder and the organizer of MTE. Please welcome Mauro Gasparotti.
Thank you, everybody. About the time we close those doors. So welcome to the MTE 2025. Now, 28% of you attended last year already. And a lot of them came many times, so you know the drill. But for the new one here, I like just to explain that every time we have an MTE, we have a kind of theme of the year, and we have a character that allow us to understand a little bit better the market. Sorry, one point. Is the audio okay? Good. So we have a character. Let's explore this year which character and which theme we're going to have. In 2022, we did the first large-scale MT right after COVID. Everybody wanted to restart business. Everybody was there, full of energy. So the theme at the time was raise the level up. Everybody wanted to jump on action. So our character at the time was the best one to jump, was Mario, to take us through the year with a lot of energy. Then 2023 arrived, and we opened the MTE with this. We knew that a lot of pain will come through us that year. We knew a lot of things needed to be done. So we wanted to be a bit more protective on the situation. We want to focus the team into looking on long-term development of the country. But again, we wanted to save 2023, we wanted to be good, and we wanted to be able to save the princess, which was that character at the time. Then 2024 started. The market did not get better. So we knew when we started last year, then it would have been a long journey to get through the end. But there was a lot of hope for 2025. If we can just make it to 2025, everything will be okay. And everybody here seems that he went through it. So congratulations to be here today. But to get through all of this last year, we needed a lot of energy. So what we did in our team last year, we re-energized the market. And we brought in somebody with a lot of energy, a lot of power to take us through the end of the year. That was 2024 character, which also was a kind of a symbol of a Vietnam good time of being the supermarket that we always knew it. That brings us to today, 2025. And who is the character this year? But how is the market? Now, the market is definitely getting better. We know it, all the different sectors, especially hospitality, and we will see it later, much more on that. So what we wanted to be positive this year, but also we know that a lot of change happened. We have new rule in real estate, we have new player, we have new people in real estate. So we wanted somebody that is able to deal with the change, to take us through the change, somebody with innovation, somebody resilient on the market. So this year, to drive through the whole year, we invited the Minion. You saw them around before. But what is funny is that as Vietnam is getting better, the rest of the world seems getting into chaos. So a lot of countries will have a lot of problems to deal with that. But for us, in Vietnam, chaos is just another Tuesday. We were born on it. So for us, it will be much easier. And we let our minion to drive us through all this chaos. We have a great show for you today. We have a 4 hour to cover with all the different sections. We start in this ballroom talking about hospitality market. We have a lot of keynote speakers moving later into a great panel. For some of you that still want hospitality to go, later you can move to the masterclass of hospitality. If I can show the masterclass with keynote speaker and lots of good panel discussion, 4:30. If you like design, you move next door to the keynote speech on design masterclass or a beautiful design panel. But if you stay with us in the ballroom, then we're going to talk about branded residence. We'll talk about wellness resorts. We'll talk about property market. And we have with a CEO panel with a lot of great experts. After all of this, I know why you're here. 0.5% of you that are not here to listen to me, they're here to drink with me, will be hitting the Oscar at 6 p.m. So stay with me until the end. Young, did I miss any part? You taking over?
Yes, I need my... Today we have a lot of activities for everyone. So as Mauro mentioned, we have the master class on operation and design. Oops. Maybe somebody can help me with the high tech. And we also have master class, as you can see here. We have technology room, of course, the exhibition area with a lot of new product and service for your future projects, and a lot of F&B around as well. Some of you might have the VIP black card to enter the developer lounge. Yep. So please make sure that you explore all of this. So everything you might see, experience, or learn today is because of the supporter. We have over 50 sponsors and partners to help us to organize a day for our industry. So thank a lot to our co-hosts, Viet Ceramic and Seville Hotels. We also appreciate our long-term partner, Salto, Legrand, as well as all the premium partners, Gamuda Land, Serta, Allianz, and Kies. Of course, everyone involved in this event, including sponsor, partner, speaker, and our super connector. So please make sure that you visit their booth, talk to them, connect, and we make the best out of MTE today. Ladies and gentlemen, and before we begin, I would like to invite our co-host to share with us a few words. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Phúc Do, General Director of Viet Ceramics.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here on behalf of Viet Ceramic, co-hosting this beautiful MTE event. We are truly honored to be part of this annual gathering. At Viet Ceramics, we believe that collaboration, innovation, and shared knowledge are the key pillars that drive our real estate industry forward. That's why we are dedicated to connecting developer, designer, architects, and industry experts together, because we believe great shared ideas lead to great projects. We are here to supply you with the cutting-edge designs and innovative solutions. Be sure to drop by our booth, get inspired, and explore the latest porcelain stoneware and sanitary ware. We wish you all a successful and insightful event. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Phuk, for your support. And now, ladies and gentlemen, let's start the first presentation today with an overview on hotel performance, both globally and in Vietnam. Please welcome Jesper Palmquist from SDR CoStar.
No, you don't. Now, when I look at an AI version of myself, I am scared. I still have some hair. That's not true. Come on. Well, listen, thank you, Maura and the team, for hosting another great event. I'm really excited to be back here because when I look at that story, what this event has gone through, I think I lean into that quite well because when I was here last year, I brought up some topics and some factors. It's not a fun list, right? And that kind of resonates because it was a little bit of caution around the whole thing in the region, and particularly in Vietnam. And I suppose that's okay. What's interesting to me is how do markets react to that? What's the next step? And when I look at the last 3 or 4 or 5 months when I talk to people, what do they care about? What do they ask me more about? It's more about these things now. And I'm not talking about models on the catwalk. We're talking about models of our industry, how HMAs are developing, how franchise is changing as well into new worlds, and obviously in Vietnam with more residential focus and hybrids, but also white label coming on strong that's been successful for so long. It's also the work, live, and play. For years now we've been talking about, is that growing? Yeah, it's becoming more of a norm, that's changing. And then destinations from everything from Saudi Arabia to third-tier markets in Vietnam and China and Indonesia. The source markets are changing into Vietnam. So how people travel are changing. And we get a bad rep sometimes in this industry because technology is not moving fast enough, but then we talk about AI most of the time. When I look at, and we're guilty of spreading a lot of data around from CoStar and STR, but the thing is, I see more owners and GMs and everyone looking at more data than ever before. So I'm kind of hopeful. And technology is changing. Most importantly on that list is, of course, sustainability. It's not about the why anymore. More owners and brands and everyone is looking from investment, from operations and divestment. How do I get my return, the ROI, by making a sustainable project? And that's awesome to see. We live in a very resilient industry. We've sold more rooms than we've ever done in the past around the world. We've sold more rooms than we've ever done. That's a great sign for our industry coming through these years. When you look across Asia Pacific, mostly green. And the thing about these red areas, they're not that massively negative. So small numbers, and if you look at the ADR, even more green. So what we're seeing is a little bit of diversity that we didn't have before, but it's mostly positive around the wider region. Another lens to look at it is, of course, this way. Blue means rate has grown, more blue than green. Yes, Cambodia recovery, so that's more demand. New Zealand and China in the last 12 months leading into January. Still some work to do overall, right? Consumer spending and all that. But then I look over here. Japan. The success story. What business does Vietnam have to be up there with the echelon of high performance of Japan? Why? What's going on? Well, the thing is, it's very inverse, the growth, because as Japan has had all that growth and keeps growing rate, it's the absolute opposite in occupancy and rate that are happening in Vietnam. Unless, and some of you do here, you work in luxury. So if you operate luxury in Vietnam, you're actually following more what's happening in Japan. Sometimes this happens. Luxury can run its own race, and it does really well. You got the same ratio between here. So luxury keeps, in the last 12 months, performing well because it already caught up from the other end. And if you look at the past 5 years, the journey, and I spoke about this last year, Vietnam is slow. It's behind. It's not growing with the same pace. And you can see that here. How far are we from the pace where it should be? Well, not far. It's true that a lot of other countries are already past it, but we're almost there in occupancy and rate, we're pretty much there. So let's break that down in terms of the hotel classes, from economy, mid-scale, upscale, into luxury. It's the same thing where we're close to, but the interesting thing is this, that they've converged, the band has kind of tightened. You need everyone on board. So economy and mid-scale have caught up with the rest in this market, as we see in many other markets around Southeast Asia as well. And the fact that there's a difference in rate progression, where luxury is higher than it used to be, where the others are not, that's normal in Southeast Asia. Phuket, you'll see it 25% higher there and similar there. So it's not as extreme here, and that's kind of normal, how there's a difference in rate. But otherwise, kind of similar. So let's walk around the map a little bit and see who's been running, what's behind this recovery, what's the most exciting. And I'm not that excited about 10%, not in Vietnam. Most people will be like, hey, that's a great number. Not even excited about that in Da Nang. I'm going to ignore 15% growth. I'm going to ignore that because what's really cool is, of course, these. Everybody like a big growth number. 40 and 60% in these markets. If you operate in these markets, you've seen it. You've seen what happened. So 40 and 60%. If you overlay that with some RevPAR top-line growth, you'll see where the green dots are. Absolutely there. A bit here in this city as well, in Da Nang. But it's phenomenal growth in the last 12 months. So there's a lot of stuff still to do. There's a lot of work still to do, but welcome back to the regional resorts. We haven't seen you in a while. It's really nice to see you back, even with hotels that have opened. And one thing that helped these markets grow so quickly is, of course, when you don't unleash 10,000 rooms a second, right? When the supply growth slows down in the last 9 to 10 months, it gives the market a chance to breathe. And listen, a delay or even a canceled project, not so great for the owner or the bank or the lender or the owner. It's good for performance, though, and I think you can see that there. So if you look at the demand growth, big numbers, slow down. But remember, high teens still pretty good. Demand growth is going. So what does that mean to supply at a national level? So if we switch over and look at supply in the last few years, big hump there 5 years ago. We slow that down to 3 years. And then into the last, it is massively slowing down, but it's starting to phase out. So in a while, yes, we'll start to see some new supply coming on board. But this is an inverse graph of what construction is. Because in the last 8, 9 years, it's a massive pipeline of what is under construction. Not the same as being delivered. I think you've seen that now. It's an inverse graph. What has been delivered? Well, it used to be more mid-scale and economy, but it's changed now. It's more high-end hotels that has come. What's coming ahead? Well, 2 things stand out. 8% unaffiliated. If this continues, in X amount of years, Vietnam will be the most branded country in the world, bigger than the US. Brands, brands, brands everywhere. And David likes that. Of course you do. Because brands are successful, and I get to a positive effect of all that. So very few other independent hotels. So 2/3 of the hotels under construction are in high-end hotels. Branded and high-end is absolutely driving it. So to summarize that journey, all these markets, what happened in these 4 years was occupancy down, the bulls moved down a bit, and ADR goes up. Up until now, a little bit more in 1 year. What's Vietnam's journey? Slower, but the pace is good now. Now we're on fire. Now we're growing, and that's pretty good. So what's left then? Because we still have that just below 20% of occupancy growth. Is there still room for more? Yes, because you can see in Phuket and those markets, occupancy have grown, but it could be a lot higher. So I still think there's some growth in there. And that's a good thing because in the next few years, our forecast is globally and in Southeast Asia, things will tighten. You're not going to see the same extreme growth. But what's on the books is an interesting thing. Hanoi, that line, those 2 lines look very similar this year and what was on the books last year. And that's because they are within 0 to 1% difference. So we have slightly more demand on the books into the future than we had last year across Southeast Asia, including Hanoi. So that's a good sign. And you're going to need it because not every month is going to impact your bottom line this way. Labor costs 10%, total RevPAR growing faster in January overall because F&B did pretty well. You had MICE business doing well. And it is in the last 3 or 4 months across the region, 3 or 4 months, 5 months now into February, where we're starting to see a better balance compared to last year. Now, that cost control is super important. And listen, your success and your progress is not going to be consistent. I think you learned that over the last couple of years. And what's going to happen is you're going to see some markets performing a little better. I think we have more diversity, particularly in Vietnam, than in many other markets. And there are things that maybe you worry about outside of this, large factors. And I think most economists today agree that not a huge factor for Vietnam at this stage, including other countries. So the road to your success, everything that you look forward to now, is because you have some factors that others don't in Vietnam. And that makes me a bit excited. When I was in Philippines last week, I was a little bit less excited, and some of these factors ring true. You are the envy of the FDI community because you have the highest ever foreign direct investments in Vietnam, and you beat countries like Philippines by a very wide margin, of course. Construction costs people complain about, you have the lowest here, and when you compare to others as well. You're driving policies, you're getting more. I mean, Cebu Pacific and Vietjet are the fastest growing airlines by capacity in all Southeast Asia. So you're doing a lot of things right, the supply is slowing down, and with the brands that you're getting, it means market maturity. It means second and third tier markets are doing really well. And you're going to need it because ahead is a more muted growth pace. But that stable ground that you're building quickly now. And the last point is what I'm impressed with. People are managing the balance sheet really well in this country as well. I can't cover everything, but I'll stick around, so ask me questions later. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, Jasper. And before introducing the next presenter, I would like to invite all the ladies and gentlemen on the back. We still have 2 front tables in here. Please move in so that you have a very comfortable seat for today's event. So, ladies and gentlemen, now we shift our focus to the Vietnam real estate market. Please welcome on stage Mr. Hiếu Đỗ, CEO of Vina Living.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's great to be here and meet the expert again. I remember this time last year I was here and we talked about 2024 with the years of hopefully positive changes. And we are here today to look back 2024, apparently a year of vast changes in terms of regulations and our market structure. And so we will address the questions, and we mostly concerned, is it really becomes easy to make money in this market? My original title was, it's finally getting easy to make money in real estate. But Mauro said, if you put it like that, there'll be 5,000 people turn to this room. So he changed it back to the question. In these presentations, I'm allowed to talk about both residential and hospitality market, thanks to the team. And my logic with this presentation is very simple. We start with the observations, what's going on over the last 12 months. We come to analyze that and try to predict what's going to happen in the future change of the market. And hopefully come up with a few recommendations that will be helpful to you as the market players. So let's start with the residential market. What happened last year? Throughout my 20 years of career in the industry, I have never seen such a year that the 3 most important pieces of regulations in the market get passed and effective at the same time. But rather, to read this law line by line, article by article, and trying to interpret the difference between the old and the new version, let's try to understand what does the lawmaker really trying to achieve by passing this law. And here's what we think about. Let's talk about the first factors, what I meant by land premium reallocation. Let's take an example of the Metro Line number 1 in Ho Chi Minh City. It was a great news when it finally started running after 12 years of development, after $100 million of investments. Who are the most happy persons when see the Metro Lines run? Apparently the citizens of the city. But the people who lost their land during the clearance to make the space for the line was not happy. They think they sold the land too cheap to the government. The government will maybe take 100 years to get their payback period. Those happy the most, apparently, are the people living along this Metro Line, especially developers who develop their high-rise projects right on the metro stations. So the governments think and say, you know what? We try to make it fair. So what happened last year? The government lifted up the benchmark land tariff across the nations. Depending on location, you already seen, in Ho Chi Minh City, there are places where the benchmark land price rise up 3 to 30 times. So the next time, if we're trying to revoke the land from the existing landowner or the farmer, we're going to have to pay very close to the market price. The same applies to the developer. If you're trying to redevelop the project with the upside of infrastructure, you pay a fair land use fee. This means quite a damage to the overall margins of developer. But to me, it's a fair and transparent framework for the future development. The government also explicitly say price escalation and speculation is not good. And they're trying to keep the market in the stable status so that everybody can afford houses. They're pushing hard for social housing as well for the low-income people. We also, let's predict. So based on this fact about the changes in regulation, what's going to happen? Now, I use game theory to render my logic. We think that enough changes in the rules will eventually change the required skill sets of the players, the nature of the game, and eventually the structure of the players. Some will come, some will leave, and some has to evolve to survive. So this change in regulations, we believe, will lead into a phenomenon we call it value chain disintegration. To understand this, let's look at the real estate development value chain, starting with land bank, development, distribution, and operation. At the start of the days, most of the real estate developers in Vietnam has to do everything. Buy the farmland, convert it into development, build the products, sell them, and then eventually run them. The name on the chart, I call them fully integrated developers. Over time, there are some developers saying, it's actually too hard, taking too long, too much risk, and I don't want to do licensing in this country. So I'd rather focus on a few phases of this value chain only. And there come a rise of what I call the specialized developers. These developers buy land from the master developers by way of M&A and sub-project transfer and focus on development and distribution only. There are also players that just focus on one phase of this value chain, like distribution and operation. The value chain disintegration phenomenon means, according to us, there'll be less fully integrated developers and more specialized developers. Why? Because it's just damn too hard to remain as a fully integrated developer. You remember in the previous law versions, you are allowed to collect up to 30% of your SPA values from the buyers before the sales permit. Now it comes down to 5%. And the bank will not allow to fund your projects when you get very close to the sales permit too. The bond market in real estate has crashed since 2022. So it takes a lot of replacement with the cheap debt and pre-sales money with a lot of amount of expensive equity. So therefore, I believe that somebody will give up. Somebody will give up of the game of land bank, and therefore they chose to be a specialized developers. However, on the positive note, we believe that there will be more handshakes between the fully integrated developers and specialized developers. This already been happened. You see, just a few months back, Vinhome starting to transfer land to Masterize, transfer land to MIK, to TNT. The same thing happened to Eco Park, even Phu My Hung and other developers too. Why? Very simple. Because even if you're ambitious to be the fully integrated developer, you understand that recycling capital quick enough to de-risk your balance sheet is extremely important for you to continue with parallel projects. Otherwise, the load is going to be so heavy to carry. So based on these symptoms, what are the recommendations? And this is for developers. Differentiations is going to be the key. Why? Because likely you end up to build project in similar location. You don't have a chance to surprise people by changing the planning parameters anymore. So therefore, if you build similar products aiming at similar customers, have nothing in different, it's going to be very hard to sell your products. However, rather focus your differentiations on competing with each other, you should focus on complement each other. There are very rare developers who can bring the complete skill sets to address all the demand of the customers. So if you are good with hospitality, bring it into the table and create differentiation for your product. If you're good at retail, do it. And if you have a capability in education or healthcare, anything that could help enhance the value of the neighborhood and the surrounding, cooperate with each other rather than compete. And therefore, what we call cooperative development is going to be a very important theme in the future. Now let's move to the hospitality market. There are two items I pick up to me are the most important observations in this market. One, cap rate is dropping, and it doesn't sound like a good news. Well, it's normally good news if your property values goes up faster than your income growth. But compressing cap rates also caused by dropping income and stagnant valuations, or the replacement cost of the property is actually becomes higher than the past, while the income doesn't come aligned. What happened with this market, we all know, is whenever the land is cheap, we rather overbuild. And when the market performance fantastic, like Ho Chi Minh City, CBD area of Hanoi, where you can run hotel at over 90% occupancy and ADR is improving, the land is just so expensive to do the new development. Look around you, how many new five-star hotels actually arise across the horizon of Ho Chi Minh and Hanoi over the last 10 years? How many M&A transactions actually came through the market with the value above $50 million over the last 5 years? This is what we call the cap rate dropping symptom. The second observation, I think we all agree. If you go to China right now, they have robots serve you meals, collecting dirty dishes, do room service, and right now you chat with your hotel on WhatsApp, on Zello, you don't even know actually you're chatting to an AI chat box or a real person behind it. So technology has massive impact on the revenue and cost structure of the hotel business, whether you like it or not. There are extreme cases you can check in the hotel, stay in the hotel, and check out the hotel without even meet the person. So what does this lead to? Now, this is kind of a bold predictions, and it sounds unfamiliar, but we think that the lease and revenue share model is getting more popular. Why? Because project owner and developer are just getting tired with the traditional hotel management contract. Whereas they bear all the risk, they pay all the payroll, and the hotel managers are just there to collect fees. So if somebody stand up and raise their hand saying that, you know what, let me take care of the employees. Let me taking all the risk from our side. We get you a revenue shares and even a fixed profit. Some of the owner will change their mind. And the cap rate squeezing means that the cost of renting is getting very cheap. And this is quite a short window for taking up this opportunity. The second predictions we're trying to derive to is mixed-use project will account for the majority of the development. By mixed-use project, I mean the combinations of the for sale and for lease component within the project. In the last 10 years, Vietnam Living has developed a lot of hospitality projects, but we stick with this model. Why? Because building a pure operating resort or hotel is just damn too hard to meet the IRR expectations of your investor. The only chance that you could deliver a healthy return as well as meeting the right market demand is to know how to smoothly combine the product for sales and the services of the hospitality elements within it. Recommendation, last piece, is going to be very simple. Be more patient. Why? Because you're patient enough, your competitor may die. Well, it's just a joke. Well, what I really mean is the market is changing, so do we. And change, taking courage and taking time, it's not going to happen in 12 months. So if you really want to change the operating structures or the strategy for your hotel or your resort, you got to be patient. It's not going to happen in this year's budget, but positive impact will come later. And to complement with that, be less stubborn. Now, I have a lot of friends who, what I call old school hoteliers. They will tell you hotel is all about human factors. There's no robot, no AI can replace the human touch. I agree with that, but it doesn't mean that providing excellent service must be expensive. There are smarter ways. If you come to this world with open mind, you can deliver the same good services at much cost-effective or efficient manner. And this generation is changing. We got to understand the Gen Z, the new wave of customers. They don't think and they don't act like traditional hotel may think. To wrap up my presentation in a nutshell, we believe that there are radical changes in the rule, but in the long term, it will lead to better transparency and maybe better fairness, because now everybody play on the same set of rules that already know. However, the market will consolidate. Market shares will consolidate. And it demands for radical changes in the skill sets of the players in the market. More differentiation, specializations, brand premium is going to be important, and operational excellence play the same role. And at last, the structure of the players. The quantity will go down, quality must go up, and the scale differential will be widened. So, stick up with the rules, and good luck, players. That ends my presentation. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Anhil. I believe that everyone in this room is very patient, and we're ready for that. So now, before moving to the next presentation, we would like to show you a video from our co-host, VIEW Ceramic. Thank you, everyone, for your attention. Coming up next, we would like to move to hospitality development sector. Please welcome on stage again.
Hello again. I got too much light there. You need to turn it down. Hello again. I'm going to take just 10 to 15 minutes, and I have a few things that will overlap with or reinforce what Astiar is said. Now, this presentation is used to be called Hard Truth and Sweet Hopes. And I always use the same title because back then there was a lot of hard part and some hopes. But finally this year, I may say that the market is looking more into sweet hopes of the country. So the hard part, we'll see later that it may be, I wouldn't say over, but just less intense than before. So my story always starts with the demand side, and you saw this already. Vietnam was phenomenal growth pre-COVID, 30%. Then COVID arrived, everybody started from zero. The recovery was also very particular because the domestic market shot up like nowhere else to really bring it back occupancy, but the foreign were not coming back. Last year, the picture changed. So domestic start to be very flat, but all over foreign tourists start to push up. And we did very well last year. Korean was the first market. They love all our resorts, and all our resorts love them back. But in the last 2 months, you saw it already, it's even better. We reached 30% growth. We are the fastest growing in terms of demand in all over Asia. And the first market is now Chinese to be back. So I may say that whatever problem it was over COVID and whatever situation we have is now over. Let's move to the other part of the business, the supply side. You saw it already, this slide. What was the supply in the last few years? Story similar to the demand. There was a lot of hard time into lot of supply. One of the biggest pipeline of supply in Asia, and it was not easy because we were facing the hard truth of oversupply in a lot of this situation. In the last few years, much better. 5% every year in the last 5. So somehow we get a much better balance. In the future, similar. We'll go from 5 to 10% growth in supply, which is very nice and very balanced. And a lot of new property coming at international scale. So I may say that for the first time in many years, this is the picture that developer and investor like to see. This is the story where you can create opportunity and value on your next project, and somehow maybe make some money along the way. Now, what happened? Why the demand now is much better? Because we took out from the picture those big guys, the ones that really were part of our hospitality, the ones who were putting a lot of pressure into the occupancy. All of them has been sleeping, and they are still kind of sleeping. They will start it again. They are finding the way through either financing or restructuring, but somehow those are the ones that have been put a lot of pressure into the future projects. Now, if we start to chop up our supply and see each single destination, it's clear that in the past, everything went to Mte Hcmc and Da Nang and Phuket. Very interesting to see. Ho Chi Minh City and Hanoi got virtually no supply in the last few years. Ho Chi Minh City especially is a very particular market because not only small supply, a lot of hotels are actually very old. And very old, I think 20, 25 years old on average. A lot of them, I think 33% of them, they badly need a renovation. Why it's not happening? A lot of reasons. Maybe the ownership structure is not right. Maybe a lot of conflict between foreign and local shareholder, or there's no interest in them, or maybe the land tenure is just too small for them to actually reinvest. But the fact is, they are getting old, and a lot of them, they need a facelift. Now, if we look at the other picture into the future of the market, where will the supply go? And this gets very interesting because Da Nang is getting a lot of supply, but also Ho Chi Minh now to start to get a lot of new rooms. But what is interesting is this. Ho Chi Minh City, still in the future, it's getting nothing from the past to the future. So every developer here, this is no-brainer where you should put your money and build the next project. Interestingly, Hanoi is getting more supply. And around 25% of this will be in the upscale segment. So Hanoi, we will see much more international market. But this is also something interesting today, Phuket. Now, this is the upcoming supply 6 months ago for Phuket. I'm showing you the slide of the MT in Hanoi. What happened in 6 months? This happened to Phuket in 6 months. It's a market that people are looking at back. And why? Few reasons. APEC, we know, infrastructure are coming, but also because Phuket last year did pretty well. Nobody was thinking. about that. Everybody was actually scared, but did well. So our developer followed the same strategy that we are looking into this year. See any opportunity, jump on it. That's the real estate market in Vietnam. Now, the other interesting factor is that a lot of those developers that are building Vietnam in the future are just a handful. Less than 10 developers will offer 40% of the total supply. Now, this is very common in other Asian countries, not just Vietnam, but definitely you should know all those guys, and all of them are in the room today. Just find them at the Oscar night. But who is the biggest one? It's our Sun Group. It's going to have the largest pipeline. The other interesting things about our supply, Jesper mentioned it before, 85% of the supply will be branded. All the new supply will be branded. So that's very different from the picture a few years ago. Vietnamese start to love brand. Again, this is a global phenomenon. We saw it everywhere, but Vietnam jumped on this opportunity. Very few independent hotels are now getting built. Everybody wants a brand. Those are the brands that we have in Vietnam. We reach now 88 brands. We update this slide every time. You saw it before. Don't worry, it's keep changing. This one in Hanoi 6 months ago was 86, because 2 new more entry in the last 6 months. But don't worry, still a lot of brands are not here in Vietnam. So a lot of things to choose if you want to have an exclusive new brand. And why all this branding are happening? Also because there has been a trend into rebranding existing hotel. Vingroup was one of the first that has proposed this one, for example, to convert into a Marriott or Melia a few years back. That has unleashed an interest from a lot of other developers to explore foreign players. This year is the biggest year ever in terms of new brand opening, either new build or conversion. But who is the biggest operator here in town? You saw this already, and you probably know who is the biggest one. So let's just get it done. Our biggest, by far, is Accor. But again, this slide, I don't trick you, we just make the whole flow, was 6 months ago. So what changed in 6 months? Which operator has signed more deal in the last 6 months? And the winner is Hilton. Hilton signed a lot of new projects in the last 6 months, and I think Islam here somewhere, they did a very good job. Let's bring those guys back and see if we can do it. Yes, we did. So, Hilton went from the bottom to be the third now operator in terms of future supply as well. Melia climbed it to the second point. ING, unfortunately, is following behind that, but they sent 3 people today at the MT because they all want to go back into the race. Who is the fastest operator from 0 to hero? Now, Best Western was the winner last year, the fastest one from a very small base. Hilton is now the #1 fastest operator. Forget about brands. Let's move into looking into single sector or single product in Vietnam to dig more, to see a bit more opportunity. Let's talk about our dear friends, the Condotel. Now, Condotel has been our dear friends in the last few years. I've done a lot of Condotel projects. All of us were somehow involved in Condotel. But in the last few years, we start to see a steep decline in number of Condotel projects. Last year, there was a bit of a coming back, 2024, but this year, we don't have many launch at this stage yet. So the question is Condotel something that is gone? Is just things of the past? The answer is no. The answer is Condotel will be back. Condotel is still a very sexy product if you build the right one, if you actually do the right Condotel. And there are a lot of good projects around. Recently, the attention has gone very much into residential, but all the good projects will be back. Let's move into luxury. Now, luxury market, as Tia already mentioned it before, it's doing very well, especially in Vietnam and also in Vietnam. We have a lot of new projects coming. All the metrics of luxury are doing well. So please build more luxury because it does work. The things interesting about luxury is also that we start to see younger crowd of user of luxury. So younger people are going to Six Sense than what it was before. But also what is important in Vietnam is that 55% of all the projects, they have branded residence. So they'll find a way to launch super ultra luxury, but get their money back through the sale. Very important. Today we'll talk about those branded residence. Focus service hotel. Another big trend, we'll talk about Hilton before, but a lot of others are launching the mid-scale brand, which is getting more and more used and popular. I'm going to finish today just by looking at a few other opportunities to open up to my next speaker, and those opportunities will be discussed a little bit more later. As we know, all the travelers are changing. People are getting much more sophisticated and much more personal traveler. Therefore, a lot of property are changing and adapting to all these new trends. And one of the biggest trends that we see is multi-generation travel. This year is the first year ever that we have 7 generations in one travelers, from the beta, which are born this year, all the way to 80 to 100 years old. So you may have a family which includes 7 generations. So the facility of hotel are changing. The F&B is changing, the entertainment. And later on, with Pep, we'll talk about the all-inclusive, which are also something that a lot of developers are looking into. The other big trend that we'll see today is the wellness. But wellness, not just in sense of wellness resort, wellness as a specialized wellness. Lot of single treatment now offer into single resort, lot of different type of resort. One of the biggest growing worldwide, the wellness industry. And later on with ANANTARA, we'll touch into a combination of resort, branded residence, and wellness component. What is coming? So the next one is usually the slide that I use when I run out of things to say. I never know how to close. I know how to open and start something. I never know how to close it. So I just put random stuff on it. To me, the opportunity are coming. To me, the bad time is done. Now is the moment where Vietnam hospitality is ready to start to replan. Ho Chi Minh City, luxury market, focus service, lot of really opportunity where to be able to replanning, forget the oversupply, forget all the big condo hotel before. Let's do it properly, and everybody actually can. So everybody get to work, and it's really good the number of people that show up to our event to really be part of all this great industry. I'm done here. Remember that I'll see you later at the Oscar night, and remember that we have a lot of other good speakers for you. So stay tuned. Thank you very much.
You enjoy it? Ladies and gentlemen, before we move to the panel discussion and tea break, there will be 2 business model and case study for you to study. The first one will be about luxury mixed-use resort. And please welcome Yasin Munshi from Minor Hotels.
I'll choose that song, by the way, but anyway. Good afternoon, everyone. Great to be here. And, oops, excuse me. So, this is not working. Okay, let me introduce my discussion today. So, we are hearing a lot about wellness, and it's a big topic on this year's agenda. It's a $6 trillion global industry, And wellness tourism as a component is now close to 1 trillion in market value. So there are huge opportunities that we can capitalize on as hotel owners and operators, and I'm here to show you some of those opportunities. I'm really excited to show you our project in Phuket, which is the ANANTARA LAYAN resort, and it's a case study on how to blend hotel, branded residential, and luxury wellness. This is our new state-of-the-art medical wellness facility, and I'll be showing you some of the services that we offer, how we are integrating wellness across the whole resort, and some numbers to show you what is the actual financial upside and potential if there's anyone here who's thinking of doing something similar here in Vietnam. So before I do that, Mauro has allowed me 2 slides just to quickly introduce our company. Please bear with me. So I represent Minor Hotels. We are headquartered in Thailand. We are one of the largest Asian hotel operators. We have 560 hotels around the world, 57 countries under 8 brands. Our ANANTARA Hotels and Resorts brand was launched 25 years ago, and we have close to 50 hotels today around the world. We are specialized in experiential luxury, so it's all about connecting our guests to some of the most exciting locations around the world, from mountains in Oman, deserts of Abu Dhabi, private islands in the Maldives and the Seychelles, all the way to the Amalfi Coast in Italy. And one of our core expertise is really around wellness, as you'll be seeing on the next few slides. Okay, so here is our project in Phuket. I'm going to show you a quick video, and then we'll go into the details. So this is the master plan of the project. So we sit on 30 hectares of land. We have 3 main components. We have a hotel, we have branded residences, and we have a new wellness center which we have just developed as a standalone facility. So the shareholders of this project are Minor International, that's us. We've developed this project in partnership with Kajima Corporation, and we've also have investors from Abu Dhabi, the Abu Dhabi Fund for Development. So just some quick pictures of the hotel. You can see we have 77 private pool villas around the hotel. We have our own private beach. One of the key features of the resort is our beach club, where we also have a Zuma restaurant, which some of you might know is a very famous international Japanese restaurant, so fantastic feature for us to have here. Now, on branded residences, so the whole project has maximum 75 residences. So we've kept it very small and very exclusive for a reason. We have 2 phases already complete. 2 phases here which are already complete. These are 29 massive villas that are ranging from 3-bedroom to 7-bedroom and sizes of 1,700 to 3,700 square meters. These have all been built and sold, and we are now in process of building another 46 under our 3rd phase. Buyer profile is about 50% local and 50% foreign. So these are the existing villas that we've already completed. This is probably one of the most exclusive luxury residential communities in Thailand for ultra-high net worth buyers. The smallest villas here, which are 3-bedroom, we sold for $8 million US. And so the idea is to keep this extremely, extremely private and exclusive. This is a 7-bedroom villa, which sold for $15 million. So again, probably some of the most expensive real estate that you can find in Thailand. And some of these villa owners are also opting to put it back into a rental program, so we allow them that option. And the demand is really high. We usually rent these out for anything from $10,000 to $20,000 US a night, depending on the season. Okay, the most exciting part for me is our new wellness center, LAYAN Life by ANANTARA, which we just opened last year. So this is located in a secluded area of the resort, completely surrounded by nature, pure biophilic design, as you can see, and it's a 1,700 square meter pure medical wellness facility. It cost us $7 million to develop this because of some of the equipment in here, which is extremely expensive. So the concept of our wellness is really focused on 4 pillars. We do longevity medicine, traditional Thai, complementary medicine, and lifestyle medicine. So it's the full range of services from traditional holistic therapies all the way to new modern science-based medical wellness. We have doctors on site who can do medical assessments, diagnostics, DNA testing to tell you, what are the risks of developing potential future illnesses, with the whole focus on prevention. What can you do today to prevent things from happening in the future? So it's all totally and fully personalized based on each individual body. We do IV vitamin therapy, which again is tailored to your individual needs. So if you want to, depends what you want to do, you might want to detox, or you might be looking at boosting your immunity or boosting your brain function. We have a variety of cocktails available. Aesthetics are a very important part of wellness. As we all know, we don't only want to feel younger, we also want to look younger. And bioharmonizing, or biohacking, as some people call it, these are really cool services about how to boost your mental performance, your physical recovery. This is a cryotherapy chamber where it's an ice pod. The temperature goes to minus 100 degrees. We also have hyperbaric oxygen chamber, which is great for recovery. And then more on the traditional side, we do traditional medicine, traditional Thai, traditional Chinese. We have our own herbal dispensary with all kinds of different medicinal herbs, and our own apothecary. There's a lot more that we have in the center, but for the interest of time, I'm only going to show you these. But please do come and visit us if you're ever in Thailand. The key for us about how we differentiate ourselves from other traditional wellness resorts is by giving our guests the freedom of choice. So we're not a pure wellness resort. We are targeting multi-generational families, people who are traveling and all have different needs. People want to experience wellness, but they don't necessarily want to do only wellness. So perfect example is someone might want to spend one day at our beach club having a good time, and then they go and detox at the wellness center the next day. So that freedom of choice factor is very important. Now, integrating wellness across the whole resort is something that we are working on. So we are going to create wellness suites. Wellness suites will be fully customized suites that are equipped with things like infrared lighting, special water filters, air purifiers, your own exercise equipment, healthy minibar snacks, a special sleep menu. So everything is tailored around wellness in the room. And for branded residences, same thing. We are now talking about wellness real estate as being designed with natural, eco-friendly materials, biophilic design, technology and sustainability, automation, all of these great things. But wellness real estate is not only about design, it's also about the soft part. It's about creating an environment where people can reconnect. So reconnecting with nature, reconnecting with each other. So being in Phuket, of course, we're blessed with beautiful natural nature. We also have some great features like this telescope that allows anyone to go and gaze up at the stars. It's fantastic. And on the community part, this is really important. We're seeing this now as more buyers of wellness real estate are looking for this community factor. They're looking at what is going to bring people, like-minded people with similar goals and aspirations together. So we are curating this community that is based on healthy living and wellness, and we think that that's really the differentiator and why people are going to buy our residences in the future, creating that special community around well-being. So in terms of measuring our success, I can show you here as owners and operators that it works when you get it right. The hotel itself is outperforming its competitive set with an RGI of 147. Our wellness center in its first year is generating 10% incremental revenue for the hotel. We are able to uplift occupancy by 30% during low seasons with wellness retreats. And annual memberships are selling from $30,000 to $50,000 US. On the residences side, fantastic premiums over the luxury residential market in Phuket. Our latest have been selling for 40% over the market. So thank you so much for listening. We're here and we're very interested in looking at opportunities in Vietnam. So thank you.
Thank you, Yasin. I have a question for you. So where do you think in Vietnam, which destination is suitable for this model?
So I think Proximity to an international airport is important. So within driving distance is super critical. We think Da Nang, Phuket would be great as international tourism destinations, but also driving destinations from cities like Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh City could work well. But we're also open to new and up-and-coming destinations in the country as well, because we can always tailor the offering based on the location and the market.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
So you will be here more to support the market, correct?
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you, Yasin. Ladies and gentlemen, please note that we have a lot of activities not in this grand ballroom only. We have master class room, we have technology exhibition room, and also after 6 p.m. is the outdoor area as well. So please plan your journey today. So now we come up with another business model. Please welcome PHUKET for all-inclusive resort. It's okay.
Hi. Hola. No. Hola. 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 See? Can you listen? No? Yeah. Hi. Well, xin chào mọi người. One of the things to talk about all-inclusive is about, because after 16 years in Vietnam, you can see that one of the questions that happens in many of the destinations here is, how was your weekend in the hotel? And they say, well, it's comfortable, all that, but it's boring. Because normally they have this kind of stay, bedroom, and one restaurant or two restaurants happen. With all-inclusive, everything changed. Because then when you create, it's like a cruise. Things that is another experience. You have not to create just a stay. You create different things there going in different way. It's not already something that gets like standardized for everything. It's just something that needs to be personalized. You have your own customer, each person for that. Again, also, you don't need to go to the price competition. You go mostly to creating value, in creating experience, in creating attachment with the people. And again, going from efficiency, that everybody expects to the emotional connection with the people. That is something that rely into repeat guests. We have doing all-inclusive resorts in Caribbean, in Europe. They didn't arrive, we start in Asia right now. But they are changing guest expectations. We talk about the wellness, just was talked by Yasin. It was about the IT and the technological one, then was talked also before. Or how something then before was something like, oh, maybe to join with a cultural environment, now is a must. And as well, the environmental responsibility then gets part of the customers. Because when you target the part of tourism, you cannot go just for one specific section. When you see this kind of DNAs of this all-inclusive, the balanced luxury is like seamless. It means that the expectation should be fulfilled, not about just the material but about the environment. The adaptability of the hotels is really important because the seasons are different, the customers are different, there are times for families, but also times for other type of people, as well as personalization. Things that happen here, you want a family, you are in one side. And if you are an adult and don't want to bother that, you come to this side. And you want to share with those, you came in the center. But you have to keep creating things that fulfill the expectations for us. So that's why things that design must drive, like you must have a seamless west flow. So the guest can just go wherever they think in the very natural way, control or not. Multi-use flexibility, because if not, the hotel gets like closed by areas, it gets empty. So you need to adapt them to your customers and what you need. The emotional touchdowns is basically the Instagram, to touch you, to have some elements that you can really recognize yourself there and create the memories. And of course, should be the operational efficiency. But that one, as you know, and many of the hoteliers, and that one, design is really important because you can create areas with less staff. You can serve 6 restaurants with a kitchen, or you have 6 kitchens. And that one is something that happens later on with that. In revenue, also, talking about business, what's an architect doing that? Because standard packages is the easy way. But design address all the other ones. The premium upselling is not just to serve, it's creating areas where the guest or the customer is able and willing to pay more to be there or to upscale that, to have exclusive experience in areas that could be for virtual reality, for example, for areas that change completely with retail spa or obviously loyalty programs. This one. Things that are the immersive guest rooms, things that everybody knows, Mte Hcmc, the villas and the exterior, and you have the round pool. But you also can create swimming pools. There is something less popular till now. Or in renovating ones, when you have existing bungalows, but the weather allows, and you have creating the living room outside just with rooms. Or interior ones, or include part of the technology to inside the rooms. Creating also facilities then let you to have different experience, like adventure zones, more related to the families, but not just that, because families are not just families with kids 2 to 6 years old. There are also families traveling right now. They are with kids with 20, 18, 20, 22, traveling with the parents with 65, 70. Those families are also a target. And they also have the adventures and need to be included. I'm talking about the cooking class, but there are many other things. And the cultural showcases, so the hotel must be ready to create areas where you can gather with others and create part of entertainment. That one I tell, and it's here, because living in Vietnam, sometimes we forget one thing. Then in Vietnam rains, and rains a lot. So when you design in Phuket and everything is like outdoor, then you are targeting that during 4 months, you cannot do outdoor activities, completely sure that nothing will happen. And then I have seen so many gatherings, weddings, and parties, then people start to run like crazy because it starts the rain. So that one, the design should be attending to that. So proposals then should be like to create magnets, to create areas where entertainment happens. Don't need to be enclosed, but it's easy to create like outdoor theaters or areas like entertainment areas for families, close, using underused ones. For example, the last one on the left was a parking before. In this one in the bottom in Jakarta is a part of the lobbies that are not used, and then to create a selling points, revenue generating zones, like a pastry shop and cafeteria. Kingdom areas where all the family finally goes. And absolutely, F&B is a really important one, for sure, and will be on different wines. Signature experience, theme events, technical customization, that one I was talking before. Guests must use already the smartphones. If we are not ready for that generation that is 25, 35, that one is going to lose the trend or to lose the train of that part. Talking about this is like, for example, a study. Right now we have under construction this renovation from Amelia Valley to Paradisus Valley, and it's all-inclusive luxury one. So 12 outlets. This is 500 rooms, 12 outlets. If you have less, probably the all-inclusive will not work, because all-inclusive is not one night stand. An all-inclusive is at least 4 nights package. And with that one, you offer not just breakfast, but thematic dinners every day. So you must thematize, and then they have a Mediterranean, an Asian, an Indonesian, a Middle East, a Japanese, so beach restaurants. Also for families or not. Or another one, then we just finished in Lanzarote as well, where you have as well Asians, Mexicans, sports bar, markets, lobby bars, and beach restaurants. So it means that the F&B, following the business plan, must include several of the areas. So for those 12 outlets, we have just 2 kitchens. In Lanzarote, for 7 outlets, we have 1 main kitchen. Depends how they design that, can save millions of dollars of that part. Also creating, for the upselling, areas where the beverage innovation makes that you can sell that premium package. And it's not just to maintain the lobby bar or the area. When we talk about holistic programs and wellness or biophilic design, is to follow that trend and the wellness clients are looking for, creating part of the spa that is more than a massage room, or creating the area that is in contact with the outdoor areas, with specific treatments, and sometimes not just with dry packages, but also with water circuits in the best locations. That I talked before. The AI is changing completely the way how to design and how to manage these things, because it gives you data. It gives you the possibilities for the people who live just already in the technological life to maintain their way during the whole resort, organize their check-in, organize their booking for the restaurants, organize whatever gathering they want, or even go to the tours and book them for them. That's the mobile ones. And then use or start to use things that now looks really, really far away. And it's like virtual reality rooms, where also is part of this entertainment, technological entertainment, than the families gets. Later on, there are musts. Sustainability as a strategy. We cannot be out of it. So energy savings should be something that is a target. Waste reduction programs is something that also it should be absolutely necessary. And that one goes straight to the guest approval in your ratings. This is, later on, there are small things like renovations. Then it's, okay, what to do? That one was one. Use the underused areas to create high value points. So for this, for example, a small one was 80 kids ones, we use a roof to create pools and skylights, and then they increase almost $100 in the ADR. The brand identity and guest experience, obviously, the number one is absolutely necessary, signature rituals. When we go to local partnerships, this is something, because in all-inclusive, you don't want right now to stay in the hotel, just to stay in the hotel. It's a destination. It's a destination way. So you need to offer this experience with local artisans, with local restaurants, with local areas, local culture, where you get the emotional attachment with the people. That also makes, then when you design the hotel, you create areas to have that interaction as well, and to create, let's say, the process or the procedures to go and to connect with them. Storytelling and these ones is obviously part of a must. What is the future? Well, this is part of the Paradisus Valley idea of it, but what is the future? The hyper-personalization. So you are special. Because all-inclusive hotels do not work if you have less than 350 keys. Because if not, it's not getting, or you not maximize the efficiency. But you try to have personalization. Hybrid resort models, like here in Vietnam, there are already hotels who have 30%, 40%, even 50% all-inclusive in Phu Quoc, in areas in Ho Chi Minh, in areas in Cam Ranh or in Da Nang. And those ones are struggling to be successful and trying to increase that percentage. And then later on, to have the guest-led experience. Well, final takeaways, I have no time, but the first one is design with purpose. Please do not let the design must follow the business plan, and that business plan must be realistic, following the financial ideas, and to look for the ROI, like the business said. To prioritize F&B, wellness, entertainment, leverage the smart technology, and integrate it, and that's this one, forget it. We are CMB architects, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Pev. We have received a question for you. So how do you help owner to convert their existing building or resort into the new model?
Well, first of all, is to be realistic. When you get that, you analyze the building, you know what you have. You have mostly, in Vietnam, you will have 200 keys, 300 keys, hotel, with an all-day dining restaurant that is underused, with a beach restaurant that is underused, is to check how to adapt and organize all the facilities and prioritize all the underused areas adapted with the proper program. Then it is. In the rooms, it will depend, but will be to sectorize and divide the hotel in 2 different hotels, probably. One more destined for families, one area more destined, more quiet area, or adults. That is also happening. Check how many pools you have. Check the possibilities that you have to change the master plan or not. Use the roof, then it's a nonsense, but sometimes the roof is just for MEP and are the best view that you have all over the resort. This is what we're doing now. We are modifying part of the popular resorts and very well branded here, and just modifying the use of the different facilities to get and to create a segmentation inside the resort.
Thank you. So you will need to study it well first, right?
Yeah, of course you need.
Thank you, everyone. And right now, we will watch a video of 30 seconds, and then after that, our team will prepare the panel discussion.
We lead the digital transformation of facility access, identity management, and electronic locking technology, turning our groundbreaking technologies and thoughtful solutions into seamless, reliable, and secure experiences. A leading global access solution provider, part of the Salto ecosystem. Salto, unlocking frontiers in smart access solutions.
Reminder that our VIP lounge, technology room, and masterclass room be on the back, so please also explore that after the tea break. Ladies and gentlemen, it's now time for our panel discussion on Vietnam hospitality market. May I introduce our moderator, Andrew Landon from Accor Hotel Group.
Hello. Oh, it's working. Hello, good afternoon, everyone. For the first time, I'm going to sit. I usually walk around, but I am going to sit. God, I look handsome in there. Wonderful. Look, the beard actually looks a bit red rather than grey. So look, please put your hands together. I would like to welcome on stage our panellists for the day. Come on up. Take a seat. Don't be shy. I don't bite.
We are proudly joined by Michael Ward from Sun Kim Land, Omar Romero from Minor Hotels, Thule from Sovico Hospitality Group,
Yeah,
Nelly Phương Tạ from Masterai Group.
Now, you've got to sit under your AI picture. So you're there.
Ninh Nguyễn
Michael.
from M Village,
Yep.
David
True.
Roberts from Fusion
Okay.
Hotel Group, and
Wonderful.
Sang Sun Chua from Club Med. Please welcome our industry leaders.
Wonderful. Okay, so let's start with something very, very important. I'd like you to all decide whose picture is most like them in real life. Okay? Oh, you're going to take my seat. Okay, off you go. Right, then I'll stand. Okay, so is this picture most likely? That's a no. I thought so. What about this one? You can all clap. A clap means yes or no. That's not good. Madam too. Ooh, no claps. I thought yours was the closest. Okay, Nelly. Oh, a couple more. So far, you are the winner. David. You've definitely got more hair in that picture. Sung Song? No, okay. Right, okay, so let's get started. We've got quite a big panel, so we need to move this quite fast. Could I get each of you to very quickly introduce yourself, your role, and what your group does in 1 minute or less?
Thank you, Andrew. Hello, everyone. My name is Ning. I'm the CEO of Envelis. So comparing to a lot of our giants here, we still like a baby. We just joined the hospitality 4 years ago. And we are running around 47 hotels and expecting more to come. Yes.
Wonderful. Michael?
Yes, hi, good afternoon. My name is Michael. I'm here for Sun Kim Land. I look after the hospitality division. You may know the company more for our residential and commercial real estate developments, but we have a variety of F&B ventures, owned and operated service departments here in Saigon, and we're developing resorts and hotels currently in Ho Chi Minh, in Phan Thiết, and in Nha Trang.
No. Hi, everyone. Nice to be here. My name is Omar Romero. I'm the Chief Development and Luxury Officer for Minor Hotels Group. And I oversee growth for our company globally, for all our brands. Minor is a hotel owner and operator. We have around 600 hotels that we operate in approximately 57 countries. And we have 5 beautiful hotels here in Vietnam and looking at doing many more. So looking forward for this panel.
Hello, everybody. My name is Phu, CEO of Sovico Hospitality. We have 11 hotel resorts, service apartment, and 2 golf courses that will be in operation by 2026. Many of you haven't been very familiar with Sovico Group. Sovico Group, we own Vietjet, AT Bank, we have Phú Long Real Estate, so there are a number of projects that are developing in Ho Chi Minh City and some other area.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Nelly. A lot of you know my name in Vietnamese is Phương. I'm working for Master Right Group as the head of hospitalities. We all know about Master Right Group as the real estate developments, which we are certainly is the pioneer and very lonely in the international branded residents standalone in the cities. I hope to have another people to join us in this market. We will expect soon to have some additional interesting projects such as the hotels to be opened by the end of 2027 and 2028.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is David. I'm the COO for Fusion Hotels and Resorts. We have 23 properties across Thailand and Vietnam. As we started here in Vietnam as one of the, I guess one of the only homegrown brands, other than Nin's Group. We have most of our operating properties here, 11 hotels in operation. 5 hotels opened last year and another 3 that we're opening this year, so really expanding in Vietnam. And our second office in Thailand is focused on expansion in that region.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Sing Soon from Club Med. So I'm technical development for Club Med in Southeast Asia and Pacific. So Club Med, for those that do not know it, we are only a one brand operator. So we only do premium all-inclusive. Yep. Back to you, Andrew.
Wonderful. Short and sweet. Okay,
Andrew,
so let's
Andrew, now you do have the avatar on the back. So now we can choose which one is the best one. And I vote for David. Your question, look on your back now. You do have the avatar that you start with. So now, who is the best one to answer? I go for a David. It's exactly the same as over there.
Wonderful. Okay, so let's get started. I will start with Seng Sun at the end. And this is a question for all of you to get started. What major trend are you seeing that is going to impact either positively or negatively your group, and why?
I guess for Club Med-wise, a major trend that we are seeing, I think in the earlier session, you guys were talking about multi-generational travel. I think this is something that we see at Club Med itself. I think parents, kids, and even their grandparents, they want to spend time together. So when we are looking at a new resort itself, we do not just plan it in terms of, this is catered to a specific parent or specific age group. I think it encompasses the whole range, because that is something that we are not just seeing in Vietnam. In China, we are looking at this trend, in other parts of Asia especially.
David?
So I think I'll take that question maybe from the development angle, because that's been the real focus for us over the last 12 to 18 months. So, I mean, for us, I think the main trend we see from a product standpoint, almost, I would say 50% of the projects that we've looked at have had a residential component, so a residential and a hotel component. And maybe back to what Hugh was saying earlier, differentiating yourself in terms of building residence and having that hospitality product to match is a winning combination. And so we've seen a lot of that.
Nelly?
Most of all, I think it's about the expectation of the peoples when they are choosing the way of life, which is every day in the residence is just not the homes. They are looking for the life which is every day as the vacation. So that's why the international branded resident is coming into very strong into the market and to support us a lot in terms as the developers of supplying for the residents who are looking for every days like you can live like hotels.
For me, I think the trend right now is people start to travel and look for some kind of very unique experience. And that's why we mentioned about multi-purpose property. So there are more trend looking for some more interesting thing, more unique thing to do for tourists. That's what I think.
For us at Minor, I think with some areas experiencing over tourism, improved infrastructure in the country, and a new, consumer demand. We think that the hospitality that is based on experience and lifestyle will continue to grow, especially in maybe new destinations. In those secondary destinations that we still have a lot to offer, they have a lot of runway and a possibility to really showcase the beauty of the country. So that's certainly an area where we see a trend upcoming for us. Branded residences, definitely something that we'll continue to see growing, as we saw in the previous panels. And the last one, after looking at Yasin and his presentation on our ANANTARA, LAYAN, and LAYAN Live, certainly wellness is something that we'll see a trend that will continue to grow, but wellness that is meaningful wellness and not just a spa where you will go and have a massage.
Yeah, I think my point is very similar to what you just said. I think as infrastructure changes, there is new destinations, but not only within driving distance from here, but connectivity between, and I mean there again, Minor with your train connectivity, and then of course VietJet with their flight connectivity. But having the destinations more interconnected, and which adds rooms for new destinations, but also in the cities. He was saying it before, with the metro coming, suddenly you have areas that are becoming much more attractive and much more interesting to develop. And I think that will change the future landscape quite a bit.
Andrew, I'm the last one, so everybody own way mentioned about the experience, what we also believe. But beside that, we think is there was in the midterm there were increasing of domestic travel. So what we believe is Vietnamese people, we are become richer and richer, and we have more money, we have more demand to upgrading the living standard. That's where also beside the growing of the international travel, Vietnam become the destination. We also believe the domestic travel will rise again in next year and expecting in coming up.
Great, okay, so let's drill into a couple of these trends that you mentioned. Michael, you mentioned the MRT, it's going to open up new areas. So I'd like to ask you, how is Som Kim Land taking advantage of that?
I mean, most of our developments in Saigon that we have existing are lucky that they benefited from infrastructure developments. So we have the Gateway in Thao Dien, where we have an additional building that will be launching soon that has a lot of extra connectivity. But we also have a site that we're working on at the moment in its early stages. That it's just across here on the river, which is a beautiful site, direct riverfront site. We see a lot of potential, and for us, we mainly develop in the luxury sector at the moment. Having the opportunity to have new areas within a city that suddenly gain importance and change, but you have access to the river, you're right across the river from District 1, from the heart of the city, but you're also connected to the new central city in Mte Hcmc. So it changes the outlook, where you have opportunities to develop really special projects in different parts of the city. You see that also not for us, but further down the river with the Kempinski projects in the future and other projects that have been announced. As connectivity increases, it will of course be much more interesting.
Som Kim, would you consider branded residential? You mentioned Lux residential, but we haven't heard much about you guys getting into branded residential. Explain to us why that is the case.
We're getting there, we're getting there. No, for us, branded residences goes well together where we have a hotel component. So we're launching, together with our partners, we're launching JW Marriott Cameron for regular operation later this year. A part of it will be part of branded residences. We have a project in Phuket, a part of it will be branded residences. Here in Saigon, for the lot across the river, we're planning a really upscale luxury urban resort with branded residences attached. For us, maybe standalone branded residences is not the right point, but when it's combined with a high-end component for hospitality, we see there is the demand, there is the potential, and we strongly believe that can work for both operator and developer.
Interesting. So not too interested in standalone branded residential, more co-located with a hotel. Nelly, give us an update on branded residential, because last time I looked, you guys actually do standalone branded residential. So please take the other side of this talk. Som Kim says they don't want to do standalone, yet you guys do standalone. Why is that?
Yes, this is very interesting and different perspective from the different developers. Why 95% in the market of Vietnam, branded residents were well known when it's attacked with the hotels, will give the people the second homes and also the choice for the rental pool programs. I must say when you come into the standalone, a branded residence is different game. They are different animals. First of all, this is the first time in Vietnam for the market, we are knowing of, hey, what is branded residence? And when they look into the names of our like Grand Marina Saigon, when we have Marriott, we have JW Marriott, we have the Grand Hanoi, which the Ritz-Carlton, there was a lot of the confusing between the hotels and the residents. There's a lot of the customers even don't understand, hey, this is the hotels or is it the residents? However, we have quite very well started when we have a lot of the peoples who are having the educationals in the and the experience in the foreign country. When they was experience with the branded resi, they are on the market that we call the high network market or ultra high network market. They are willing to pay and to trying and to upgrade their lifestyle in day-to-day of the hotels when they want to have the butler of all the ultra high luxury in their everydays with the 90% down of the cost, which is very in criminal numbers learning from ourselves. That means you just admit that if you want to have the valet peoples, conscious people, florid on your own, butler in your own, and own the housekeeping, etc. In normal market in Vietnam, you pay at least from 5,000 to 10,000 per month to pay for all the salary and that cost. But in the branded resident, you have all of those with very different levels of the paying for the management fee. So that's why we believe the market is there. And we believe that in the long run, the branded residents will helping the upgrade the lifestyle of the peoples in Vietnam.
So just 2 points. In your experience, what has been the price premium a buyer has paid for branded residential versus non-branded?
As normal, is when we come from the 30% upwards. It's up to some certain of the project, it's up to the initial sales or the secondary sales. It can go up to 40% to 50% since
Okay, so a substantial price premium. And obviously, you explained all these enhanced services a person gets by living there or the owner. Obviously, as you mentioned, that costs more, which the owner has to pay for. Has that caused any issues? Like, have buyers gone there and gone, oh no, my maintenance fees each month are 3 times higher than an unbranded property, I don't want to pay? Has that been an issue?
I think you have a good point. There's a lot of the question come up on the time when people to make the decision to buy it. However, as we come back to some certains of the presentation earlier, more than that panels, we talk about the how differentiate and how is the value add on. So as long as they have in the certain of the ultra high net worth or the high net worth market, they have the different expectations and different capacity to subsidize for all that service. Definitely from the beginning is going to have the difficulties.
Okay. Sing Song, Club Med. Now, I'm a big fan of Club Med. In fact, I stayed at Club Med last week. The question I have for you is, what is the future of all-inclusive in Vietnam? And why isn't Club Med already here?
I think the future of all-inclusive in Vietnam is very interesting. I think it's definitely a market that has huge potential in Vietnam. I think one thing about it is for a Club Med resort, if you want to bring a Club Med resort to Vietnam, first I would definitely recommend it to be a more frontier location as opposed to maybe somewhere near Ho Chi Minh and such. Why is this so? Because I always tell I'm from development, so I always tell my partners, if you have a big plot of land, you bring in Club Med as an anchor, it will be able to help uplift the destination because Club Med is able to bring the kind of international clientele from all over the region. Secondly, in an all-inclusive resort, in a frontier location, there is no Grab food that you can order. I mean, a lot of instances we see in maybe Indonesia, in Thailand, people go there all-inclusive, but people would think, why don't I just get a bed and breakfast? My food, I can travel nearby, I can order Grab food, it's so convenient in Southeast Asia. So I think that is something that we can look at as well as all-inclusive. I mean, to be honest, since I've joined Club Med for around 3 years, there are actually many developers that are interested in introducing this all-inclusive format in Vietnam itself. And why we are not in Vietnam for Club Med, I think if you look at Club Med's history in Southeast Asia and Pacific, which is essentially my region, the last property that we had opened was back in 1998. So I think the development criteria that we have for Club Med to do a resort is very strict from my management itself. Because for us, like what was shared earlier on, all-inclusive resort is a fixed cost model. You need to have a minimum area of land space as well as with a minimum number of rooms, easily hitting 300, 400 rooms.
So what would be the minimum land size? And you mentioned at least 300 or 400 keys. How many hectares of land?
I'm afraid if I share it, people will not speak to Club Med. Okay, so for Club Med, we are actually looking at around 15 hectares of land with direct beachfront access. I think there are two things that Club Med does best. One is on Sun Resort, which is beach, as well as its ski resorts. Yep.
Okay. One other thing for you. So, the Club Med Phuket, Club Med owns. Bali, I think you own. The one I was with in Japan, the three you have in Japan, Club Med own. Would Club Med develop their own resort in Vietnam, or are you purely looking for management? And if it's management, are you willing to throw some money in or do a JV?
I guess for Club Med, the resorts that Andrew spoke about, they were more of legacy assets. I think in 30, 40 years ago, you are talking about a French brand. Nobody knows what is Club Med. So if we do not invest in it, if we do not partner with local partners, there's no way that we will be able to develop Club Med in Asia itself. In Bali, we were the first international brand. In Phuket, when Club Med first developed, nearby there was nothing. We still had the beach connected to Club Med Phuket itself. Now there's a road dividing us. In Japan, it's actually all under management. But they are actually our partners from Fosun, the fund management platform. So to put it simply, for Vietnam, we will be looking at only management. But we can explore to see if it is a very strategic project. I'm sure we can look at ways to make things work.
There you go. Strategic project. They're willing to talk. Excellent. Speaking of willing to talk, Omer. So I was a bit surprised to see the presentation from your colleague. Does anyone remember how many brands Minor Group has? Was anyone paying attention? 8. 8 brands. And I actually was a bit shocked. Why so little? Why not more brands? What is the strategy? Just to give you an idea. Accor, we have 48 brands. Marriott has 38 brands. Hilton is 32. IHG, Benjamin, you have to remind me here, I think it's over 30 brands. So, 8 brands, that's a bit old school, isn't it?
Thank you for your lovely question, Andrew. Maybe let me start by just giving some background of how these brands came to life. So, as I mentioned before, Minor has 600 hotels. We operate in 57 countries. We have 8 brands, as Andrew said. Out of these 8 brands, we have created 2. ANANTARA, our luxury brand, and Abani, our premium lifestyle brand. All the other brands were brands that we acquired as we grew the company. So we acquired Tivoli, we acquired NH, that was a big acquisition in 2018, over $1 billion acquisition, 230 hotels more or less. And what we have done this year is we have, and Tivoli, even before that, with 21 hotels today globally. So what we have done this year is we have consolidated and we have launched Minor Hotels as our umbrella brand, because how we were operating last year was like 8 different companies. So we have now consolidated. Now we have Minor Hotels is our umbrella brand. We have all these brands under us, and we're now going towards growth mode. We're also working towards a few very exciting brands that we're going to launch very soon, including an ultra-luxury brand that is very focused on F&B. Last thing to say is this is quite unique, because when you talk to an operator like Accor or IAG or many of the other ones, everyone will always go and say that they are asset light, right? Because the focus is very much management contract, franchise, etc. With Minor, out of our 600 hotels, we own 200. We lease 200 because when we bought NH Hotels, we inherited a lot of leases, and we manage 200. So we are not asset light, we're asset right. So wherever it makes sense, we'll go, we'll do acquisitions, we'll do asset light deals, we do leases, etc. So that's the way we think. We're very entrepreneurial in the way that we approach business, and we are growing slowly, so we're coming after you, but we don't want to be the biggest, we want to be the best, and the best for our owners.
Not the biggest, the best. I like that. So let's talk about something which I hear a lot about just in the last couple of months. It's the F word. Now, the F word, I mean franchise. Omer, putting you on the spot here, Minor Group, franchising in Vietnam. Will you consider it or not? What's your thinking?
It's early days for us. Our specialty, as I mentioned before, is hotel management, ownership, or leases. But we will launch a lease model before the half of this year. So that's coming, and we'll certainly consider franchise in Vietnam.
Oh, did you say lease model?
Franchise model.
Oh,
I misspoke. Franchise.
Oh, you got me really excited then. So just to clarify, you said you would be releasing the franchise model in Vietnam this year?
Before the middle of this year, correct.
Wow, that's news, huh? See, I knew I would extract something from you, Omar. So you've heard it here first. Minor Group will be getting into franchising too, madam, too. You've got a lot of hotels. Not that many are branded, if I recall.
We have some hotel that branded that we signed contract with international operator, hotel operator. We have one with franchise model in Nha Trang, Tui Blue. But to be very honest, I'm not a fan of franchise model. I think franchise model give more flexibility for the owner to get involved into the hotel operation, which I don't think is a good thing. And the fee difference between franchise and management is not that high. That's what I think. However, many owners looking for franchise model, but I don't think Sovico Group will go to that direction. However, we're looking into rebranding some of our property that has been ongoing for some time, and I think in the future the plan is to do rebrand for all the property, even the new property that we're going to acquire.
David, would you ever consider franchising under your multiple brands, Fusion, Glow,
We would.
Hive?
We would, in fact, we do already. We have 3 Glow hotels in Thailand under a franchise model. We have 1 property here in Vietnam under a franchise model. Of course, it's our shareholders' property, so that's maybe I guess that doesn't count. But yeah, I think the model works. If it is the right tier of brand, we would not be franchising our resort brand or our luxury retreat brand, obviously. But to be honest, we have not seen much interest from developers here in Vietnam for the franchise model. I think out of all the deals we've looked at in the last year, maybe 1. So I don't think it's really caught on here in that sense.
Why?
As well.
Why is that?
I think experienced developers understand the work involved in managing a hotel. And I think what you see, there's a reason why Vietnam only has, 8% independent hotels. So I think in some cases they understand the work that's involved, and in some cases they'll open the hotel on their own and then eventually give it to an operator because they realize, there's too much work and too much complexity in managing themselves. So that's my view.
What about white label operators or third-party operators? Is that something that you do or you would consider? And it doesn't seem to be too many operators here.
Yeah,
under
we would consider
white
it.
label structure.
Yeah. I think we would consider it. I think we can add value, right? I think it's not so much whether white label is a good model, it's whether we feel we can add value to the project and to the developer. And if we feel we can add value, I think we would explore it. I think one of the interesting models, if you come back to franchising, is this white label operator and brand under franchise, and I think that's the most effective model when you include those 2 components. So you have the distribution of the brand, you've got the management from the white label operator, and in that sense, I think also the contracts for owners are a bit more flexible and easier to manage. So that model, for me, I think is most effective in this region.
Nguyen, you mentioned, is it 47 hotels that you have under your group? Yep. Now, are they all owned, or do you manage some? Or dare I say franchise any?
So actually, we don't own any real estate. Our model is we are like access model. So we have 2 models. One model does we do the master lease for long term for the land, and we put the capex to renovation. Yes, the hotel, the resorts. The second model that we are doing the revenue sharing model. So in that model, we pay all the costs, operating costs, selling costs, everything costs, and we share directly the revenue. So the revenue that we save to the landlord is become the NOI of the landlord, free mind for the landlord.
And it seems like there is a bit of co-branding starting to emerge. I think at the end of last year, Sojo Hotels has done a branding exercise with Hilton under their True by Hilton brand. We hear of a couple of other local brands talking to the major international operators about similar branding or co-branding deals. Is this something which you, Village, would consider? If not, why?
You mean that we considering work with the with the international brand. So actually for us, because we are newcomer, so we willing to do anything that can help us learning, knowing about the industry. That is one way of we see the way that we're learning, the way that we're growing, including white label. Yes, actually we have some offering, suggestion to do the white label. Because as a local operator, and because most of our background before the hospitality, we come from the retail. So in the retail, we have dealing with the cost, manage everything. And with the flexibility of the local, yes, we can have the owner. Why the franchise with the brand, they can bring the customer, yes, they get the value for the international and those things. But we want to maintain, we as a local operator, because we see if we don't do, no one will do. And we want to support to Vietnam to become a destination of tourists by just really to build a very strong local operator.
Two, question for you. You mentioned that at some point in time, Sovico would consider putting a brand on your currently unbranded properties. In your mind, what advice could you give to an owner? How do you decide what operator, what brand? What do you look at to help make a decision?
I think I've been through this many times in terms of selecting the right operator for the property for different owners that I have been working with. So there are some tips. Something that look at is that what kind of scale the project. For example, is that a resort? Is that a hotel? Because for each different international hotel operator, they have different kind of brand that will be equivalent to existing product that the owner is having. The second thing is that what will be the, for example, there will be evaluation of the current status. So what will be the future look like? What the expectation from the owner for that specific property? Will it be luxury from like, for example, like economy to luxury? How much money the owning company willing to spend? What will be the investment budget? And then after that, we discuss all that with the operator. Because for different brand, there's different investment and equivalent the return of that investment. So there must be the whole financial analysis projection that we have to do in advance in order to see which brand will fit the most to the owning company interest. As well as the expectation, because some other owner, they don't really care about the profit in the future, but mostly focus on the brand. And some owner, they don't care about the investment initially, just what brand will be recognizable and has good reputation in the market that have to sell the real estate. So there are many factors that add in, but I think the most important thing is the owner will. Like what will be the owner expectation so that we can bring the right brand with the right investment budget, with the right future financial analysis to meet the owner need.
Great, thank you. Nelly, how does your group pick the right brand for a brandy resi project? And what would be the advice you would give a developer in Vietnam?
Well, I think back in 2017, when we start very initial discussion with the brand that we pick, sincerity, I'm not in Master Right Group at that time. However, I must say that the brand that we pick at that moment is the biggest player around the global for the branded residence. So there's one of very important matters that the buyer want to buy in the branded resi is the brand. So we need to find out who is really trusted, global recognized brand. This is the guarantees for the access.
Hang on. There's lots of globally recognized brands. How do you pick which one?
I think for the Vietnamese one, if I can say for Asia in general, We call that in sometimes some kind of the people on the sky to tell that, hey, you need to come here and you meet that person. Then, yes, I think the merit between the developers and the brand is not only about the calculations of how much of investment costs, etc. As Tu mentioned, this is really important. But one of the right thing that I may say is right brand is coming at the right times. That exactly the same brand, but it's come in different time. It may not the right brand for your projects anymore.
Okay, so I'm putting you on the spot here. So the time is 2025. What is, without mentioning specific brands, but the right brand, let's talk about the right segment at the right time. What is the right segment now? Is it luxury? Is it premium? Is it upscale, upscale? What segment of brands do you think is the right time today?
This is two sides. If you are asking me about the branded resident, I'm still saying luxury is the brand that the market is still very interesting. The second one is talking about the hotels. I'm still thinking from the luxury or upper scale or entry luxury still on the peak of the developers and the market.
Good. So I've been told we've got 10 minutes to go. So I'm going to put you each on the spot again. So can you tell us something? What are we going to hear in the news or be talking about your group this year? Seng Son, let's start with you. What will we be talking about Club Med this year?
I guess for Club Med this year, we will be expecting a whole new resort in Malaysia, Kota Kinabalu, that will be open Q1 next year. So this will be in the press very, very soon.
And how many keys is that?
It's a 400 keys development.
And how many hectares of land?
20.
And how much beachfront meters?
I think it's 1 kilometer or so. The whole area belongs, there's nothing nearby, so the whole beach belongs to us. But for Club Med itself, around 1 kilometer.
You've developed it or you manage it?
We are the manager.
There you go. So any developers who own 20 hectares, 1 kilometre of beachfront somewhere in Vietnam. David, what are we going to hear about Fusion? What hot gossip this year?
Hot gossip, right. No, look, we've been, I think no secret, we've been trying for many years to grow our brands outside of where we sit now, right? So outside of Vietnam, outside of Thailand. So pretty excited that I think this year we will announce our first hotel outside of these two regions. And it'll be a pretty exciting destination. So
come on,
no
where?
hints, no hints,
Where?
no hints.
Is it Asia?
It is South Asia, I guess you could say.
Asia.
South Asia. So no, look, I mean,
India.
it's you know, with our brand, the wellness component and being known more as a resort company, there's certain destinations, you know, that are perfect for our operating model, and so pretty excited that hopefully we'll get a chance to announce that later this year.
Nelly, what's going on out there? Tell us.
I still thinking the hotel new supplies will be out there. And really for Vietnam this year.
And what about your group? What is your group going to be doing this
I do
year?
hope that in 2025, people will know about Master Right is also for the hotels. We are expectful, hopefully we can announce around 2,000 keys in this year.
2,000 keys of
Hotels.
new hotels.
Yes.
Can we ask what sort of location? Are we talking city or resort?
Yes, we will have expectfully in Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh City. So I do hope that next presentation of Mauro, he can add some supply in Ho Chi Minh City.
Wow.
We also have some new destination as well, which is allow me to talk about it publicly a little bit later.
Okay. And will these 2,000 keys, would they also include a branded residential component or strictly hotels?
We have 2,000 keys is strictly hotels. I'm not calculating the branded resi, which we will expectfully add on into our portfolio this year. If you calculate also the branded resi add on into in this year to our group, it's going to expect around more than 1,000 key more to be a place.
So I just want to spend a minute here. So why has your group turned to this 2,000 keys of hotel and only 1,000 keys of branded residential? Is this a change in your group? Because before it was very much branded residential, no hotels. Now it's changed to hotels and not much branded residential.
I'm not mean
What's
that
going
we are
on?
not continue to develop the branded resi, which we are truly branded resi, bring the good values for us and the market. But we think as the normal developments of any group, we believe the hotel bring different value to the developer as well. So time is come, as I said. So right brand come into the right times. We think that 2025 is the right time for us to talk about the hotels.
Wow, what a change. Great to hear. Two, tell us, what news are we going to hear about Sovico?
For the Sovico, it's like the whole ecosystem. So our hotel is most of the hotel more like stand-alone hotel. So 2025, I do believe we expect to do rebrand for some of the hotel in the group. We plan to open the golf course. We take over one golf course, like 1 hour drive from Ho Chi Minh City, which Mekong Golf Course as well. And start the operation for it. We're going to open the golf course in Lạng Sơn, as well as looking for probably building new hotels, acquiring new hotel by 2025.
Fantastic. Omer, so the big news last year was you joined Minor Group as the CDO. What's going to be the big news this year?
Hopefully not me leaving minor groups. That's not the plan. I think that the big news we'll share this year, and we're very excited about it. We're working on 4 new exciting brands. One is going to be an ultra-luxury brand focused on F&B. We'll have then 3 collection brands that will cover the luxury, the upscale, and the select service areas, actually. So very keen to deploy those brands across the markets.
Great, thank you. Michael, Som Kim Land. We want to know something hot gossip that we don't know about.
Well, I mean, firstly, the one that you already know about, but especially David and you will have to hear about, because once we open the JW Marriott in Cam Ranh, there will be some more competition, and I'm sure your colleagues will be complaining. But on the other hand, we really hope to be able to release the details of our development here in Saigon that I mentioned before, because it will be a very exciting development. It will create new supply in the high-end segment, and a little bit different than the existing high-end segment as well. So I think that's something everybody can look forward to.
Just to talk a bit, that's residential? Is it hotel? Is it branded residential? What is the mix?
Mixed use. So urban resort component, branded residence component, small office component, or office component, and a retail component as well.
Great. Fantastic. Nuong, lucky last. What are we going to hear about M Village this year?
Yes, we still doubling the scale every year. But this year also is the first year that we enter the luxury. We are expecting to opening the new, one of project in Dalat in Thuen Lom. It's 25 hectares, just only 40 villas. Yes, it's with the new brand. It's the first project. We preparing for this project for 2 years already, and expecting to opening is first 6-star. Yes.
First 6-star. Wonderful. Well, we're out of time, so please put your hands together for our panelists. And thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much, our panelists. We'll see you back in the VP Lounge on the right side. Ladies and gentlemen, to start this section, we'll take a closer look at ultra luxury real estate from a buyer viewpoint. And please welcome Otto Twist from Seville, Singapore. We need some music for him, and I will stay here with him until we get more people into the grand ballroom.
Well, Nyung, from the picture, from the way he looks, it's not that bad to stay next to him.
We got a lot of like on social media as well.
Microphone on. There we go. Perfect. I used to believe in AI, but looking at that, I've completely lost faith in AI. My mum always used to tell me to smile, and I look like I'm about to punch someone in this. So I promise the next kind of 10 minutes is not going to look like an aggressive convict. I'm going to talk you through luxury real estate, in particular, the kind of branded residence field within APAC, globally, from a buyer's perspective, and what buyers want in this field. So when I talk about this normally, I speak to our clients across Asia, and I speak of 5 key principles within the luxury real estate space. And they are people, product, partner, promotion, and place. So what do I mean when I talk about that? I talk about the people that are going to buy it, I talk about the product that is going to be delivered, and I talk about the place that it's being delivered, and also how it's sold. So getting straight into this, the product. What do buyers want when they're buying luxury real estate, and what sets luxury real estate apart from traditional real estate that we see on the mass market? The teleprompter here is gone, by the way. So what the first thing I'm going to talk about is the product being truly unique. And what do we mean by that? Buyers at this end of the market want something that is typically potentially one of a kind, or has very good design features that sets it apart from other things within the region. Now, how is that achieved? Often people appoint a well-known, world-class interior architect. An example that springs to mind to me right now would probably be Opus building on the Peak in Hong Kong, designed by Frank Gehry, 14 purpose-built luxury apartments, achieving record prices for Hong Kong through appointing a very well-known, globally recognized architect. Then these kind of 3 areas I would suggest all pile into one, and that's simply that in luxury real estate, size really does matter, and there's no undercompensating for this. I'll go on to give some examples in my next slide as to the differences between luxury and standard real estate, but really well-considered design is something that is essential at this end of the market. Safety and security is an absolutely huge aspect when you're dealing with millionaires and billionaires around the world. These homes are often bought as second homes or for their children in other countries, and security is absolutely paramount at this end of the market. Today we spoke quite a lot about wellness within the real estate sector. I know we've got a talk after me talking about wellness, so I won't steal the thunder there and talk too much on that. Then moving on to kind of 3 examples within APAC that I see as the very best products in the market right now, or that have already been delivered. So the first of these is the residence. This is truly unique, a Mandarin Oriental development in the heart of Bangkok. Why is it unique? Joyce Wang custom interior designs, the flooring, the curtains, and the furniture within the apartment is one of a kind for every single resident. Size here, starting at 130 square meters, all the way up to 610. Just to put that into perspective, this kind of standard market in Asia, average unit sizes are below 80 square meters, so your minimum double here. Then onto security. I was in this penthouse last year in Sydney. It's the One Barangaroo penthouse. You need facial recognition just to get through your front door, and you can get from your basement parking space into your bed without being seen by a single resident within the building. Then finally, on the wellness piece, the Four Seasons residence, again, another urban branded residence in Bangkok, has absolutely fantastic wellness facilities within there. You've got in-flight recovery for residents that come from overseas. It's got circadian rhythm lighting. It's quite a difficult thing to say, but in short, what it is, it's lighting that adjusts and decreases as sunlight, daylight goes throughout the day, so your body naturally adjusts to it. Then moving on to the kind of partner section of this, talking about branded residence now in Pacific. Some of you will obviously know this fantastic development that is coming through right here. So partners within APAC at the moment, who's delivering branded residence? So we've got Banyan Tree leading the way on this, but in the luxury space, you've probably got three key providers within APAC, and that's the Aman Group, the Mandarin Oriental, and the Four Seasons are the genuine luxury brands. These are the ones that are smashing price points across Asia, have repeat buyers in them, and a fantastic pipeline of delivered stock, which I'll talk a little bit about that, but also some very exciting projects coming through, particularly Mandarin within the Da Nang area. So then moving on to collaborations, so on partners still. Who can you collaborate with to help drive sales success? The rise of luxury lifestyle brands is a huge thing within this. 21% of branded residences in APAC currently are non-hotel operators. So Porsche, for example, delivering 22 units coming through in Bangkok, launching later this year. Starting prices there are going to be at 15 million US, all the way up to 45 US. Private bankers knowing about your project across the globe is absolutely essential. They advise the ultra-rich. Having a global agent as your partner that truly understands luxury real estate and has that buyer pool. Some shameless self-promotion here, but Savills are the absolute best at this. So if you haven't appointed on your scheme, please do moving forward. Now thinking about where APAC branded residences are being delivered. So we know our kind of key markets, our Vietnams, our Thailands, but then thinking, you've got projects coming through now in Australia, you've had a really exciting pipeline in Japan, there's projects coming through in India, and there's a kind of limited amount coming through in Singapore, which is my residence. Across APAC, it's about 51% urban at the moment versus 49% resort-based market. And I'll go into a little bit more detail as to where they're being delivered on my next slide here. So Phuket, we obviously spoke about Phuket today, a really exciting market. There's quite a lot going on there, so ensuring that the product is right, the partner is right, and the delivery to market is going to set you apart. Within Da Nang and Hoi An, we as a business are hugely excited about this area. The resort market within Vietnam is attracting a lot of demand on a global scale at the moment. And then I mentioned Niseko earlier, again, another very exciting market for the luxury within APAC. So people, who buys this luxury real estate across the world? So I'm going to focus on the ultra-rich here. I'm going to focus on the billionaire market and what kind of happened to them over the last year. Since I've wrote these slides, the North America strong asset market and equity market has changed considerably. We've obviously seen some of that wealth eroded even the last 2 weeks from the US. But the US houses a lot of our global billionaires. Last year, there was a 7.6% increase in wealth for those, inflation adjusted at about 8.4. Within APAC, thinking about who we're targeting and who's going to be buying, although there are challenges with money controls in India, a lot of Indians are buying real estate across the world and expect that to be a huge, huge market. It's very well established in Singapore, in London, and other parts of the region currently. Now focusing on our home soil here within APAC. So Hong Kong is leading the way. This is declared wealth. I might add there are some countries where the wealth isn't declared that may be on this list. Hong Kong houses over 100 of them. Many of those have made their money through real estate, but traditional forms of wealth in there are through finance, through banking, and other forms of wealth. Beijing last year saw a bit of a fall with the global uncertainty that's happening out there. And then we've got India that I've already mentioned. We think Hyderabad will be on this list very quickly next year, and other countries within that space. And just before I segue into my final section, I wanted to talk about the difference between female and male billionaires and their asset allocation and who we should be targeting when we're selling luxury real estate. Female billionaires are going to put 2 times more of their wealth towards real estate than male billionaires. So when we're thinking about decision-making in these households and we're thinking about who's spending the money, marketing property to this section is absolutely incredible. So now I'm going to go on to my final section here, which is promotion. How we sell the real estate in the luxury segment and how that differs. We've spoken about this earlier, and we spoke about it a lot. Brand is truly essential when it comes to marketing luxury real estate. Having a branding agent or a brand that really understands the market, where buyers feel they belong to it, is really, really important. People think at this end of the market that the ultra-rich don't use social media. They do. 72% of transactions over $10 million, the first port of call is through a Zalo or a WeChat or an Instagram. So marketing on there correctly is really, really important. Thinking about how we're doing events. These aren't mass market events. These are invite only. They're behind closed doors, very, very private. PR, it's not traditional property PR. It's focusing on lifestyle within the development, so looking at publications like a Tatler or an Architect's Digest rather than a traditional property portal. Collateral, moving collateral, you'll see while I've been on stage, I've been walking around. People engage more with videography by 400% more. So moving quality collateral is absolutely essential. And then the marketing suites, some clients across the region are spending millions and millions. A client I know has spent over $15 million on a marketing suite in Asia. So it just shows how important it is. And my final slide that I wanted to leave you with today is a quick case study. It really sums up everything I've been talking about. But actually, I'm just going to focus on the brand element here. And this is one of my favorite developments within Asia. I was there last year. It's the Aman Residences in Tokyo. 91 apartments delivered here. Why did they get it right? They appointed a globally recognized branding agent to do their whole overarching strategy for Aman Group, which now has a huge following, and they have a clear timeline on delivery of stock, what's coming through for their collateral. PR, appointing a good PR agent, or going back to my first point on architect, a lot of their PR was generated around world-renowned interior designer Yubu Pushelberg. The events that they hosted were behind closed doors. Even ourselves as agents was very, very difficult to go to. And the collateral I've already mentioned. So what did this all equate to for them? Well, they achieved a record sale of $225 million last year for their penthouse. And it was one of the fastest selling ultra-luxury schemes globally to ever be achieved. And it also goes back to your partner. So the Aman Group have their typical buyer in their residences have bought 3 Aman residences around the world. So it really shows the importance of a good partner. So I hope you found the last 10 minutes engaging and interesting. I'd just like to say, we Savills have doubled down on residential, particularly luxury within Vietnam. Over the last 3 months, we've employed 108 brokers to focus on this section. So any questions, come and have a drink with me after, and I'll be delighted to talk to you more. Thank you very much for your time this afternoon.
Think property, think service, correct? So ladies and gentlemen, before we move to the next section, I would like to remind on the ladies and gentlemen, we have a lot of chairs on this side and also in the front line. Thank you. So when we talk about branded resident, a lot of people think about the brand, about the price. So let's see another viewpoint from the next presenter. Please welcome Catherine Edwards.
Good afternoon, everybody. Wow, that AI photo really is awful. Let's move on as fast as possible from that. So earlier on the panel, Andrew Langdon of Accor asked one of his panelists, how do you choose your brand partner? And I think that's at the core of what I'm going to be talking about today.
You wanna put the mic closer to
me?
Yeah. Better.
Okay.
Yeah.
So as our last panelist just discussed, we've seen a huge, it's very
Yeah, you need to put it closer.
Closer?
Yeah.
Closer?
Yeah, perfect, perfect. I'll give you the microphone of the MC.
Better? Yeah, that's better. Okay. So as we saw from the previous presentation, there's been a huge growth in APAC and specifically here in Vietnam in terms of branded residences. Why is that happening? I think there are 3 or 4 key reasons for this enormous growth. One is, the growth itself we're seeing between 2024, 2025, and across the next 5 years, we're going to see a compound annual growth rate of nearly 14%. That's nearly double the value of the branded residence market in the space of just 5 years. Why is this happening? One of the key reasons is the growing affluence of Vietnam, of Vietnam's population, the appeal of these globally recognized brands, and also this desire for prestige, for status, and the fact that Vietnam today, particularly in our key cities like Ho Chi Minh City here, Hanoi, still offer incredible value compared to neighboring cities like Bangkok and Singapore. As we saw earlier, there are a number of key players dominating the market here in Vietnam today. We can see JW Marriott here in Saigon, the Ritz-Carlton in Hanoi, 2 properties that opened in the last 12 months or so. Other players include Banyan Tree, Intercon, Farama, Wyndham, and others. But there's also significant growth from players outside the hospitality space. Whether it's Elie Saab from the fashion or Nobu in Da Nang. But the wealth of brands out there globally is even bigger. And as we saw from the previous presentation, nearly 20% of branded residences is coming from brands outside of hospitality, whether that's Fendi, whether that's Aston Martin, Porsche. The wealth of brands to choose from is getting bigger and bigger with each year. But how do you know which brand is the right fit for you? And how do you look beyond the idea of the initial price premium? I believe there are a number of key branding considerations that we should all be thinking about. Number 1 is our vision and our DNA. Number 2 is our audience. And number 3 is our master brand strategy. Let me dig into those one by one. So your vision, what we're talking about here is who you are as a developer. What kind of brand will resonate with you as a developer? What kind of perception will your brand partnership create on your brand as a developer? Does it resonate with who you are as a brand? Does it connect with your positioning and your aspirations? Will it create the right image that you want to achieve in the wider market, whether that's with consumers or with your partners and key stakeholders? Because not all luxury brands are the same. You need to consider, are you maybe a confident, timeless brand? In which case, maybe you'd be looking to Four Seasons or St. Regis, Ritz-Carlton, one of those classic luxury brands as your partner. Perhaps you want to project more of an image of contemporary lifestyle. In that case, you might look for an Aman, for a Nobu partner. Or maybe you want to position yourself as a developer focused on experiential lifestyle and wellness. We heard earlier from ANANTARA, they could be a potential partner. We also have Four Seasons, Banyan Tree. There are a number of groups you could choose from. But remember, the brand reflects who you are as a developer. Secondly, who is your audience? We talked earlier about the luxury buyer. And it's critical that we understand who we're creating this brand for. Who is this residence for? Who is your buyer? Remember, you can't be all things to everybody. And we know that the ultra high net worth individuals in Vietnam are getting younger. 60% of them are under 50. And we know that the younger buyers, they don't want the old stuffy luxury brands. They want something fresh, they want something new. They're more interested in lifestyle, wellness, and brands that really resonate with their values. So does your brand resonate with your buyer? Don't just think about the demographics. Look at your buyer as a person. Who are they? What defines their lifestyle, their aspirations? Are they maybe indulgence connoisseurs? Do they, like the finer things in life? Are they stylish sophisticates, interested in lifestyle? Are they lifestyle seekers? Or perhaps they're proponents of wellness. They look for a brand which understands and integrates with their wellness habits and experiences. Last of all, and one of the things that I think I come across most as a branding consultant is, what is your master brand strategy here? Remember, the first brand is not the last brand. The first brand that you partner with sets the tone for everything else that follows. So many of the projects that we see in Vietnam are these large-scale, master-planned, integrated projects with many different brands at play. Have you considered your master brand? What is that destination brand that you're creating before you start talking to your brand partners? If you partner with a brand like ANANTARA, you're setting a tone of high-end luxury. You cannot then pivot to something else. It is going to be a luxury destination, and it's very hard to mix it with something lower. If you partner, for example, with a Nobu, you've then set the tone for lifestyle and F&B experiences. So think about what that first brand partnership means for the wider development of your destination. Do you even plan to create your own brands? We can see plenty of examples in Vietnam and beyond where a developer starts with a third-party brand, and as they gain in confidence, they start to create their own brands or maybe white label operations. So what's that mix? What's that strategy of how you're going to interplay and sequence those different brands? We can see an example in Thailand, and thanks to the previous presenter, we already talked about the Mandarin Oriental residences. And here's an interesting interplay. Icon Siam, which has been a very successful new luxury mall on the river in Bangkok, their real estate partner, MQDC, chose two brands. They started with Mandarin Oriental to create that prestige and that luxury, and then they entered their own brand, Magnolias. And you can see that Magnolias is obviously going to benefit from the uplift of being associated with Mandarin. And that was obviously a clever strategy and something that we can think about when we're planning our projects. So remember, know yourself. Who are you as a developer? Who is your audience? Who are you creating this brand experience for? And what's your longer-term strategy? And just a quick thought, as I've been listening to everybody over the course of the afternoon, where is branded residence going? What's the future of this industry? We can see to date a lot of hard brands in the market. If you look at the trajectory of hospitality over the course of the last 10 plus years, we've seen a huge shift towards lifestyle and collection or soft brands. So maybe this is what's next for branded real estate. Maybe in 5 years we won't be talking about JWs and Ritz-Carltons and Amans, but we'll be talking about luxury collection, autograph collection, Citizen M maybe, some of those lifestyle and soft brands that we've become so familiar with in this world of hotels. Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. Now, before moving to the next section, we would like to show a short video to all of you from our partner. Thank you for your attention. So we have been learning about branding, about viewpoint from the buyer, from our expert. And now let's see how design and interior element can embrace into a luxury wellness project. So please welcome the next presenter. This presentation brought to you by Mte Hcmc. Please welcome Mr. Thiện Dương from GSA Group.
Thank you. Thank you for that Generation X music. I think a lot of Generation X here, right? Actually, I was told to come up here and entertain you guys because it's very late, isn't it? It's been a long day. And honestly, I had a speech prepared, but I've forgotten most of it because Mara gave me a lot of whiskey in the VIP room. So I'm going to do something different, okay? I'm at the Meet the Expert event in Vietnam. Interior elements for luxury and wellness. Give me a speech.
All right, here's a short speech draft. Good morning, everyone. Today, I'd like to explore the fascinating intersection of luxury and wellness within interior design. It's about creating spaces that not only exude opulence, but also nurture our well-being. Think of it this way. Luxury is no longer just about the price tag. It's about the experience, the feeling a space.
It's not just the
wellness.
experience.
Is about creating environments that support our physical and
it's not
mental
just
health.
about experience.
When these two concepts merge,
You're not listening. You see, AI can't replace us, can we? This is very important. Today I want to talk to you about humanity and about design and how it relates to humanity. You know, we talk about the ideas of sustainability and wellness and how it relates to luxury. Well, if you're a billionaire, to be honest, all you care about is not dying, right? It comes down to the psychology behind design. People think about materiality. People think about the essence. You know, Donald Trump puts gold everywhere. Yeah? Is that luxury? Sometimes, I worked with a very interesting architect. His name is Marcel Hogan. His interiors was about framing a beautiful view. So then he purposely compressed the space, you know, to give this panoramic view. And that was his luxury. And people paid millions of dollars for these villas. Of course, nowadays, we cannot talk about design without talking about the environment. So the influence of the environment, your relationship to the environment, as humans, not AI, as humans, we need to have an understanding of how we relate to the environment because it affects our emotions. So for example, we can go through all these spaces, you know, of course you have natural light and you have to have spaces are spacious. You know, you think about the color palette, but these are the things that you guys all know. You guys are the makers, the creators, the builders, right? You understand your clients. So at the end of the day, what do you do to create inspiring spaces which at the end of the day looks beautiful? Of course, I have to talk about my sponsor, since I'm now an influencer, Mte Hcmc, right? We go to the materials. Sustainable materials, eco-conscious. So yes, be a little bit responsible. Think about where you're getting your materials from. As part of the Green Building Council, we always talk about trying to build locally. It's one thing to create the next Giorgio Armani hotel, right? It's another thing to try to source those materials 300 kilometers from where you're building. And so, Mte Hcmc. Sustainable materials and their benefits. Actually, it's very important in Vietnam. You know, what does Vietnam have that's a huge advantage over any other country or most countries? It's the labor. You still have the opportunity to I was talking to Lisa Marie today about what is the difference between, let's say, Sydney and Ho Chi Minh City. It's the labor. Australia, US, Europe is having a huge problem because labor is so expensive. To the point where Elon Musk is going to replace most of the labor with robots. So in Vietnam, take advantage of the labor to create something unique, something inspiring, something handmade and relates to humanity. And that ends up being an eco-conscious design. Of course, when we talk about wellness, we have to also talk about integrating nature, but also space planning. So it's very simple, right? We have 5 senses. The AI doesn't. So when you walk into space, the first thing you encounter visually, the smell, the sound. So how you relate your spaces to those elements, and then the textures that goes with it. So what you feel on your feet, like when you're walking, sometimes subconsciously, psychologically, you have a sense of space. What you hear, what you see, what you feel. And of course, all the branded residents I know, they put special smells in spaces. Okay? So all those things together create a holistic approach to design, which is multi-sensory. And of course, the textiles and finishes enhancing relaxation. Today's world, most people, we're not actually thinking about trying to lose weight anymore. It's not important. It is in America, not here so much, but it's actually more important to de-stress. Most of us, and especially the billionaires, they're stressed people, right? They're always going around chasing money. So they need to de-stress. And that's what these residences, these hotels, these resorts, you have to create a space which will allow them to relax. And that's the most important thing. Can you create a space which will encourage them to focus on their mental health and their ability to relax in a space? And this is, again, the holistic approach to the whole idea of sustainability, luxury, and wellness. Of course, there's one more thing, and my friends at Gamuda are sitting here. There is the idea of biophilia. It's humans, we actually have an inherent need to be near nature. And it's not just about designing to reduce carbon footprint. It's actually, you need to design and bring in, because I've seen projects where it's platinum LEED, but there's not a single tree on site, right? You need to incorporate trees, plants, and taking it to the next level, technology. Technology is just about efficiency. It's not about biophilia. And many projects, and I think our neighbors in Singapore and Malaysia at some point, they are taking it to the next level where they incorporate plants, not just plants, but the birds, the butterflies. Can you design a resort or a hotel which will incorporate the birds and the bees and the butterflies to come? One of our projects at GSA, we created a building where trees were planted. And the trees were planted and selected because they basically attract a certain kind of bird on its path of migration. So it would stop on the way and nest. And that's about the ideas of thinking about not just carbon footprint, it has to be biophilic, and you need to think about biodiversity in design. So at the end of the day, sustainability and luxury, we need to think about all these elements. In conclusion, I think you can read all that. Someone once told me, the most important thing as designers, as makers, as builders, as developers, is just leave a place better than you found it. Thank you.
Thank you, Anthin and VIEWPOINT. So coming up next, we turn to another growing trend, wellness real estate in Vietnam. Please join me in welcoming Ms. Khanh Nguyễn from Gamudaland.
Good afternoon. Hello, everyone. Before I start my presentation, please accept my thank you and congratulations to Savius. I heard that the registered number is more than 1,000. And thanks for connecting us to have the very good conference today. And today, before I start my discussion, I would like to have some interactive with the audience. So the topic today is we will talk about the wellness, or we talk about the well-being. So can I have one question to the audience? What do you think about the well-being? So what is the definition of the well-being that you are thinking? So can someone raise your hand and share some idea? Anyone? So maybe the organizer, can I ask my friend, Miss Jo? Can someone give the microphone? What do you think about the well-being?
Sanity.
Sorry?
To stay sane.
To stay...
Don't go crazy, as in to stay sane. Mental health.
So one idea about the mental health. So let me ask our assistant. So what is the answer? So it's quite long answer, but we would like to highlight about the healthy and happy. So the next question is, are we being treated as a well-being? So that is a very big question that we hope that in Gamudaland we can give a part of the answer. So what we are having today? So we just finished a summary. So how many of us agree with that? That is a very big issue that currently we are having. So please give a clap if everyone agree with the clip that our in-house team have helped me to put all of the idea. So we have do some research about what we are living in a big city and what is the challenge that we are having about the well-being. So if we look at the statistic from WHO, you will see that the data is about 10 to 15 square meters per person is the ideal indicator. And in Ho Chi Minh, you will see that 0.5. And in Hanoi, we are facing the number is at the second lowest after Ho Chi Minh. It's only 2, when the range that WHO recommend is about 10 to 15. And another indicator is about the air pollution. So you see, this is the real data that has been statistic. And you see on the chart below, there is 3 lines. The line with in the largest city, like Ho Chi Minh City or Hanoi, you will see the happiness index that the line have the trend that go downward. Compared to in the smaller city, they is still on the balanced trend. And compared to the people who live in the rural area, the happiness index is still on the upward trend. So what is the key message in this chart about the happiness? that you are measured on the well-being. And on the chart in the right-hand side, you will see that in the past, the total of the time working and sleeping is about 55% of our life. But within that 55%, you will see the proportion of the working has been increased compared to the time that you dedicated to take care of your mental, your body, about the sleeping to recharge the energy. So we have to sacrifice our time to work, to do, and a lot of things that we have to care. So in summary, there's 3 issues that we want to address in this about the well-being. The first is the lack of the green space of the people that live in the big city. And the second thing is about the air pollution. And the next is the work-life balance become very challenging. So in order to deal with the issue that I have highlighted, so our team have looked at what is the solution. So most of the people, they will choose that they will go to the resort during the weekend. So we have about 52 weeks per year. So how many time, how many money, how much money that you have to spend on the resort vacation. So it will be very limited budget in case that we already expand the budget for the leisure, but it is still not the daily. And the second factor is the people very focused on sport activities now. However, the challenge that we analyze is the people, how many people they live in the place that when they go outside of the house, they can run with a very smooth, very well organized. So it's still not easy for them to find a good place for them to make your body available with a sport activity. So we consider it is still not the sustainable solution at the current. So in Gamuda land, to deal with the issue that we are seeing, so the first is we focus on the sustainability development. So this is some real photos that we have developed in our project. So in Celadon City, the construction ratio is about 20%. So it means that for the rest, we dedicated for the big park and the road. And the second thing is 50% is the green coverage ratio. This is a very impressive number compared to many existing townships right now. And the left-hand side is on Gamuda City. The construction ratio is about 38%, which a very big insert lack at the current, and the park. And also the coverage for the green is huge with 56%. And the second thing is how we deal with the air pollution that we have highlighted. So our mission with the ESG is our business. We care about the environmental, and so we commit that 40% of the reduction in the CO2, and by that we have care about what material that we use, and also about the solar energy. Instead of we use electricity from the government, so we do the solar. And the solar is to generate the electricity so that we can apply in our township. And also for the water treatment, we reuse the water so that we reduce the water that we use from the government, and we can recycle with the clean water. And Anh Thiện have shared about the biophilic design, which is very typical and our core message that we want to provide with our residents. So the biophilic design here, you will see that in the blue color, it means that the ventilation, that very natural from the door entrance to go to the floor of the house. So it is very naturally ventilation that help the persons who live in the house with a very natural. And the second thing is the yellow one. to get the natural light through the void of the house. And also with the red color, it is at the door front that if you look at the material that we choose is ceramic, and we have been carefully to put in the right direction so that the optimal of the ventilation is maximized. So here is some key fact about the Celadon project that we already have developed. 16 hectares with about like 3 lakes, and currently the lake is a home of about 70 species, including you see the black swan and the white duck. So all have been born in our ecological park, and currently we have the team to take care of all of those animals. And we have about 7,000 mature trees that planted and grow up in our Celadon. So the last pillar that we would like to share with our audience is about the connecting community. So I think that someone already have been in Celadon. They all know that we have a very big sport club, about 5 hectares, with the swimming pool in the 50s met of Olympic standard. And also, this is a park that we have mentioned before. And this is our meadow project where we optimal the void area and we plant the trees inside of the house. And this is the pet-friendly concept that we bring in to the Eaton Park, where there will be a space dedicated for the residents so that the pets will be taken care in that area. So some very new idea that we want to enhance in our project, and we bring to the residents the convenience, the mental health, and the well-being care. So the clip that you are seeing, this is the Celadon City in Tân Phú district. This is the CGI of Eaton Park. This is the current of Celadon City. So I just finished my short presentation, and the mission, the vision of Gamoda Land is we want to create a place considered as a home that the generations, they will live and they continue to choose Gamoda Land is one of their trusted developer. So thank you.
Thank you, chị Khanh, for your message. I believe that everyone in this room really care about your health and well-being. And we also care about your health and well-being. Right now, we will have 5-minute wellness mental practice with our instructor. So please welcome Ms. Thu Nguyen, and she will support you in Vietnamese. Please give her a big round of applause.
Mọi người có mỏi không ạ? Bây giờ chúng mình cùng làm một thí nghiệm với trên cơ thể của mình, đúng không ạ? Mình sẽ chia cơ thể của mình ra làm 2 phần, bên trái và bên phải. Và mình chỉ dùng tay của mình để tác động phần bên phải thôi, bên trái mình sẽ không làm gì cả, đúng không ạ? Mình sẽ dùng các ngón tay của mình sẽ vỗ nhẹ vào phần phía bên phải của mình. Rồi mọi người cùng bắt đầu ạ. Nào cả trên cả dưới ạ. Tay, bên hông. Rồi cả phía sau ạ. Tapping, đánh thức cơ thể của mình một chút. Chỉ làm bên phải thôi ạ. On the right side. Ok, bây giờ mọi người đưa hai tay về trước ạ. Mọi người hãy cảm nhận rằng mọi người muốn vươn hai tay của mình về phía sân khấu để chạm vào tay em phía trước. Người vươn thẳng hai tay ạ. Và bây giờ mọi người hãy cảm nhận xem cái phần bên phải mình vừa tác động ấy, nó có vươn dài được hơn không ạ? Có ai thấy bên phải làm được tốt hơn không? Có thể giơ tay cho em biết được không ạ? Thấy không ạ? Vươn dài, chạm vào tay em về phía sân khấu. Rồi ok, mọi người đã cảm thấy bên phải làm tốt hơn. Bây giờ mọi người đặt hai tay về phía khung sườn của mình. Hít thở ở đây 3 nhịp và cảm nhận xem phần khung sườn, phần ngực của mình ở bên phải nó có đang mở tốt hơn của phần bên trái không ạ? Hít vào, thở ra. Hít vào, cảm nhận khung sườn của mình mở ra. Có bao nhiêu người cảm thấy phần bên phải của mình đang làm tốt hơn ạ? Có ai thấy bên phải làm tốt hơn không? Rồi, qua thí nghiệm vừa rồi thì mọi người sẽ thấy rằng trong cùng một cơ thể của mình, bên trái và bên phải, nhưng một bên được vận động, nó đã được linh hoạt hơn rất là nhiều so với bên còn lại. Cho nên trong cơ thể của mình sinh ra là để vận động chứ không phải để ngồi yên một chỗ. Nhưng trong thời kỳ hiện đại số hiện nay thì mọi người thường dành một thời gian rất là nhiều ngồi trước màn hình máy tính mà quên đi rằng cơ thể của mình được vận động. Chính vì thế hôm nay em có mặt ở đây để hướng dẫn mọi người những bài tập cơ bản để mọi người có thể tập sau những cái giờ làm việc của mình. Đầu tiên sẽ là bài tập về hít thở. Mọi người sẽ áp dụng hơi thở có tên là 4, 4, 4 và 4. Mọi người sẽ hít vào 4 nhịp thở, giữ lại ở đấy 4 nhịp, thở ra 4 nhịp và giữ lại ở đấy 4 nhịp tiếp theo. Bây giờ mình cũng bắt đầu được không ạ? Theo 5 nhịp thở nhá. Rồi mọi người dựng thẳng cột sống. Hít vào 4, 3, 2, 1. Giữ lại ở đây ạ. 1, 2, 3, 4. Thở ra 4, 3, 2, 1. Giữ lại đây 1, 2, 3, 4. Còn 4 nhịp nữa ạ. Hít vào, mọi người có thể nhắm nhẹ mắt lại cho mắt mình được thư giãn một chút. Hít vào, cảm nhận vươn dài đỉnh đầu của mình lên trên trần nhà. Thở ra, thả lỏng toàn bộ cơ thể. Hít vào, cảm nhận khung sườn của mình mở tràn đều cả 3 phía. Trước, ngang và sau. Thở ra, thả lỏng toàn bộ cơ thể. Cảm nhận hai bên vai của mình được nhẹ bẫng đi. Một lần nữa. Hít vào. Và thở ra, từ từ mở mắt ạ. Bây giờ mình sẽ áp dụng hơi thở đấy. Mình tập một bài tập cho cột sống của mình. Rồi mời mọi người dựng thẳng cột sống. Hai tay đặt ở phía trước ghế ạ. Rồi hít vào, vươn dài cột sống, duỗi cột sống. Thở ra, gập cong tròn cột sống của mình lại. Hít vào về giữa. Một tay ở phía bên phải, tay trái vươn lên ạ. Hít vào, vươn dài cột sống của mình sang phía bên phải. Cảm nhận giãn hết phần lườn bên trái của mình ra. Rồi thở ra về, đổi bên ạ. Hít vào, vươn dài sang phía bên trái, cảm nhận giãn toàn bộ phần lườn bên phải. Thở ra đi về, hai tay phía trước ạ. Cảm nhận một tay đẩy cửa, một tay kéo cửa. Hít vào, vặn cột sống ạ. Thở ra đi về, hít. Đổi sang bên còn lại. Thở ra đi về ạ. Bây giờ mình sẽ di chuyển phần hông trậu của mình một chút. Nhấc gót chân lên, mở khớp háng ra ngoài, đóng, xoay tròn đúng không ạ? Nào, 3. Nhấc gót chân, mở khớp háng, hạ gót, đóng vào, nhấc ạ. Mở khớp háng, hạ, đóng và xoay ngược lại. 2, 1. Khi này thì mình sẽ di chuyển phần khung chậu của mình một chút. Đổ ra trước, đổ ra sau, đổ trước, đổ sau. Mọi người có thấy có hai cái xương nó di chuyển trên ghế của mình không ạ? Đó chính là hai cái xương ngồi của mình. Bây giờ mọi người hãy tìm cái vị trí mà hai cái xương ngồi đấy dựng thẳng vuông góc xuống mặt ghế. Khi này mọi người có thấy rằng cột sống của mọi người nó tự động được thẳng không? Đây sẽ gọi là vị trí khung chậu trung tính, là vị trí sẽ rất tốt cho cuộc sống của mọi người. Và trong sinh hoạt hàng ngày thì mọi người nên giữ ở cái vị trí này. Mọi người đã cảm thấy thoải mái hơn, mình đã có năng lượng cho những phần tiếp theo của chương trình chưa ạ? Cảm ơn tất cả mọi người đã tham gia mà một cái phần nho nhỏ của bản thân em ở đây. PHUKET xin mong muốn mọi người nhớ một câu rằng cuộc sống khỏe thì cuộc sống khỏe. So remember, good spine, good life. Thank you.
Thank you too. And I hope everyone enjoy and get a few seconds, few minutes of relaxation. So in the next 5 minutes, we will have all the latest data about residential market. And then after that, we'll move to the panel. So now I would like to invite our speaker, Mr. Dương Bạch from Property Guru Vietnam.
Good afternoon, everyone. I do not have beautiful photos, but if you guys like data and insight, I promise some minutes of the next 5 would be interesting. So, as a lot of us who live and work in Vietnam thinks about local investment channel on where you put your money in, there are some obvious choices. Buying some apartments and hope price would increase over time and you get some rental yield. Buying some land, hopefully it's appreciated. Putting money in the stock market. Buying some strong currency like US dollar and get it stronger and stronger against the Vietnam dong. Or stock up on gold like the previous Vietnamese generation, such as my mom. Do you guys know? So question for you guys. Which investment channel that provide the best return in the last 10 years? Any thoughts? Gold, US dollar, stock, apartment, or land? Which one? Anh Thiện Dương, which one? Okay, lands, okay. So let's have an answer. Oh, probably the next one is better. Okay, this is the one. The winner is actually apartments, right? So if you put in $1 into a Vietnamese apartment in general, in 2015, in 10 years, at the end of 2024, you have $3, you triple it. The second best performing investment channel is actually land, and the worst one is basically investing in US dollar, would only give you a 20% increase in the last 10 years. But like, where do we get all this data? Well, as we are operating BusDomSan.com.vn, one of the biggest online marketplace for real estate in Vietnam, where millions of property seekers, home renters look for their properties, where homeowners, property agents, and developers list their assets. We understand a little bit of what type of consumer demand as well as property price, how it changed over time, how it differs across geography as well as property types. So if you look at, you zoom in a little bit in the last 3-4 years, you can see a big pictures, change a little bit in the country. The line show consumer demands. So the red line is basically buying demands. The blue line is rental demand, where the bar is showing property price. The red bar is property price for transaction, and the the green bar is basically the rental price. So pretty obvious, property price has been increasing in the last 4 or 5 years, right? Where the buying demands bounced back nicely in 2024, but it hasn't reached its peak yet in 2021. In the meanwhile, rental demands and rental price stay flat, reflecting its resilience during a market downturn. But then, how is the difference in our 2 biggest cities, Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh City? If you look at the 3 popular property types, apartments, landed house, and land, you can see a very different pictures of Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh City. Where everything is in Hanoi appreciate in price in the last 2 years, things stay quite flat in Ho Chi Minh City except apartment. And as the price appreciates so much in Hanoi, the median price of all of the property, the main category of properties in Hanoi now, getting more and more expensive, and it's above the median price of the one in Ho Chi Minh City. Then if you slide the data differently and look in different property types at the whole country, you see another set of interesting insight. So this is, on the left graph, you can see that the buying demands for apartment has bounced back in 2024. And actually, in the peak of 2024, in Q3, it had been better than the demand we see in 2022. However, if you look at land investment, the buyer demands for land, it dies down heavily in 2022, and it's never bounced back. Right? It's pretty low. When we survey our user and agents, 60% of people who buy apartment with the intention to stay, we see on the right bar. And then another interesting insight. Last year, there's a bunch of metro line being completed and start to be operated in Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh City, and we see interesting trend. This metro line have made a few areas along the line more accessible, and that results in price increase for those areas. And when our team looking at it, it's pretty interesting that the area that further from the city center have a better price increase. For example, with this line in Hanoi, the further from Hanoi center, this area having more than a 50% increase in price. This area closer to Hadong. This is the line from, I think, Catlin to Hadong. And similarly, for Ho Chi Minh, we see a similar trend. When the metro line 2A in Ho Chi Minh complete late last year, we see price increase in Thao Dien, in Tân Phú, and in area closer to Dong Nai province. And I think that's it from me. Hopefully some of the insight will be useful for you guys. Hook me up or drop me an email if you guys need any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, and you, for your insight. Coming up next, we will show you a very short video, and then our team will prepare the stage for the last panel of today's event. And ladies and gentlemen, I have good news for you. Everyone today will get one night stay in New World. So please drop by Hoi An area to get your membership and your voucher and plan for your next holiday. And the second good news is that in the next 40 minutes, we'll have a very insightful panel, and we'll start serve F&B in 40 minutes. And now I would like to invite our moderator of the final panel discussion. Please join me in welcome Neil McGregor, Managing Director of Seville, Vietnam.
Thank you, Nhung.
We are honored to welcome our panelists on stage. Kieran Besto from Ares Management Corporation. Michael Piro from Indochina Capital. Sergey Nam from Cursor Home Vietnam, Châu Thả from SC Capital Partners, Đức Nguyễn from Logis Hospitality, and Lisa Marie Carrigan from Group GSA. Please welcome on stage.
Thank you, Nyum, and thank you for introducing all of the panelists. Much appreciated. That will save some time, because I know there's a very thirsty audience out there. Good to see we've kept a bit of a crowd. It's great to be back here in a more positive environment, and our government agrees with that sentiment as well. They've given it the tagline, the new era. So we hope that there's going to be a bit of a turnaround, and we're here to try and uncover everybody's thoughts on that. We have the movers and shakers of the hospitality industry in Vietnam and from around the region, so we're keen to hear their insights. It's been a period the last few years of relatively few transactions. There haven't been a huge number of transactions in Vietnam or elsewhere in the region. But maybe we'll hear about some of those that have taken place for those on the panel today. So I'd like to kick off with a question to Chao and Kieran on that note regarding your regional focus. Could you, maybe starting with Kieran, okay?
You want me to go first?
Can you give a bit of background to your fund platform?
Sure.
Your investment strategy when it comes to hospitality, as well as any recent transactions that you've been working on. And obviously, we'd like to hear how Vietnam fits into your plans for 2025.
Absolutely. Firstly, good afternoon. I know we're the last stop before the drinks, so hopefully this will be insightful, and we'll bring you through an interesting panel. So just on Aries, we're an alternative investment fund. We manage an AUM of $520 billion. A lot of it is on the credit side. I'm on the private equity side in Asia, and we run a dedicated hotel fund. So being private equity, we always drive value. We're always looking for upside and the ability to obviously transform a business, buy the business, fix a business, and sell that business. So in Asia Pacific so far, what we've identified or found in this market, you know, there is still a bid to ask issue. With high inflation and high interest rates, there is a gap, and it's about trying to identify opportunities where, you know, we can still drive value into those projects. So we do that through CapEx, repositioning, owner-operated hotels, converting them, and business fixes. So we started this fund about 3 years ago. We've acquired 3 properties so far. One here at home, the Hyatt Regency in Da Nang, and then 2 in the Maldives. So we've been active in other markets too. So Thailand's been very active at the moment, as well as Indonesia.
Thank you, Kieran. Chao?
Very similar to what Kieran's doing. We're a private equity firm that invests in real estate pan-Asia, around 10 billion of asset under management. And one of the sectors is hospitality. In 2023-24, we've very much focused on Japan hospitality. So we have a fund there, and we acquired a portfolio of 26 hotels from Daiwa. So that's very much a focus. And of course, for Vietnam, with today, Asia Pac, we are setting up a fund that is hospitality focused. So
we like to hear that.
Yes.
Good, thank you very much. We'll move to the other end of the panel, Sergey and Michael. If you look at Vietnam in 2025, is the market getting better after the challenges of the last few years? What do you consider Vietnam's USPs, if you like, versus other regional markets for investors? And what could make Vietnam more attractive for foreign investors going forward? Sergey, do you want to go first?
Yeah, thank you very much, Neil. Good evening, everyone. I guess most of the people are having drinks right now. Yes, we've been investing in Vietnam for more than 15 years, and I think last probably 3-4 years, maybe was quite tough. There was uncertainty, and post-COVID time also was still felt impact of the post-COVID time. And this year, and probably next 2 or 3 years, will be, in our opinion, will be the time for great time for M&As. It's a great time for new developments, and because a lot of demand from because not enough supply last few years, there's a lot of demand accumulated, and now is the time. The problem is, we believe that more like a challenge if it will be more transparency, and the regulations can be more clear and perhaps more digital, because we also doing developments in more developed markets, and its information is more easily accessible, like the master plan and what's coming up next, and each particular plot, what you can do, what you cannot do. I think it will be very helpful for foreign developers, even for local developers, for everyone to be more confident in the market. And I think the government is moving in the right direction. We are very happy to see that a lot of reforms, like nearly every week, we see that it's changing now. So like it's more, yeah, we're looking forward to it.
Great, thank you. Some perspectives on the new era there. Michael, your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I think your question has a few parts. So first of all, how do I think 2025 is going to perform? I think we're off to a good start. If you look at, from a tourism perspective, we've seen about 4 million international arrivals this year, which is about 30% year-over-year increase. So from that perspective, we're going to have a great year. You know, I think our previous best year in 2019, we had about 19 million international arrivals. This year, we're on track to do somewhere between 23 and 25 million, which will be the highest year on record. So I think that part gives me a lot of confidence on the demand side for hotel performance, and we also have a robust domestic market. So that's looking good to me. Your general question about what are the USPs for Vietnam for a foreign investor, you know, from a general standpoint, I think Vietnam obviously benefits. We've got a population of 100 million people, 2/3 of them under the age of 35. Vietnam is becoming increasingly important in the global supply chain. So we're seeing huge money coming into the country on the manufacturing side, which is really kind of the engine of the economy right now, together with the service industry and hospitality industry. So I think that all bodes well. Long term, we're still sitting at 50% urbanization rate. So most of the investors I talk to, it's a growth play. You know, when you look at Vietnam, the fundamentals are strong for growth, a young population, low labor cost, et cetera. How do we get more of that interest to translate into transactions? I think we need to welcome foreign investors more. I think there's still a very strong perception that if I'm going to invest in Vietnam, I need a local partner. And so now, on top of market risk, business risk, approval risk, business risk, I have to take on partner risk as well and work with someone that I may or may not want to, but I have to get a deal. So I think that's going to be, you know, that's a big issue, and we need to make it easier and make investing in Vietnam more accessible for foreign investors. And I think, you know, we are moving in that direction. Would we like to see it move faster? Absolutely. In terms of hotel transactions, I haven't seen a transaction since we sold the Hyatt Regency to Crescent Point, which is now owned by Aris. And again, for the same reasons that Kieran mentioned, the bid-ask spread just doesn't make sense. Most hotels that I see coming on the market right now, sellers are asking for like a 4% cap rate, which is just not going to fly in today's market. It doesn't make sense with the cost of borrowing. You have a negative carry on that basis. So I think sellers need to get a little bit more realistic. They're trying to bake in the losses they had during COVID and add that in, saying, I want that back on top of what it's actually worth. And, you know, foreign capital just isn't going to go for that.
Thank you very much. Great perspective on what's really going on out there. We're going to take a bit of a different viewpoint now. So we have Lisa Marie from Group GSA. So she's going to give a perspective from an architect based out of Australia and working around the region on her view of the potential for the Vietnam real estate market, and whether there's particular subsectors which you feel Vietnam can excel at.
Thanks, Neil. I feel a little bit like the round peg in the square hole up here. I'm not a real estate, private equity, bank or anything like that. So from a design perspective, we actually see Vietnam as a fantastic opportunity for our hospitality sector. So as a practice based out of Australia originally, we love hotels in Australia, but they're just so hard to do. So we've got one project there like the Moxie that opened last year, and we've got a unique proposition in Sydney, which is like 2 kilometres of beachfront in Sydney in a master plan with 4 hotels. But that land holding has been in one family for over 200 years. So it's like really rare. And our hospitality work in Vietnam is where we're really focusing for the region. So we're really delighted to hear that everybody is saying it's on the up and up. That's great. I mean, you've got amazing, like across the area, you've got amazing fundamental economics and numbers. You've got a growth that's huge and hopefully speedy. That's been, I think, kind of some of the key issues that have been sluggish in the last few years. So hopefully that's on a better front. So we see in Vietnam the opportunities being in the new destination developments in particular, and then in the existing destinations, I guess a more nuanced and developed sort of maturation of that hotel product. So there's a lot of great international operators, but in terms of personality brands, in terms of a more kind of nuanced and cultural kind of proposition, that's where we really see it. So cultural tourism we know is huge, particularly with a luxury ecotourism bent. There's a massive demand for that globally. And the potential because of Vietnam's amazing landscape and diverse landscape to really bring series together is huge. We also see that lifestyle and business fusion as a great opportunity as well. And then that personality urban brand, for sure. And then experiential tourism as well, particularly with the rise of glamping and some really unique destinations. I think that's a great market here too. So we're really excited.
Excellent, thank you. Duc and Kieran, you've got portfolios in Vietnam, but outside of Vietnam as well. Be interesting to hear what your hotel managers are telling you about the recovery. Which hotels are maybe driving that recovery, and whether that's geographies or particular sectors of the market that are powering ahead. Duc, do you want to go first?
Okay, sure. So Lodges owns hotels in Vietnam and Cambodia, and we also manage a number of hotels in Thailand. I would say overall in our portfolio last year we had record numbers. So across our portfolio. Now, obviously, some hotels are hitting, the highest ever ADRs, highest ever occupancies. Some markets have not recovered as well. So I think it's geographically driven for sure. But overall, at least in Vietnam, it's very positive. I would say, for example, our Sofitel Legend Metropole and our Fusion Cam Ranh Resort, record ADRs. If you were to walk in today, I think you probably will have to pay a pretty high price. And it's a level that is maybe hard to imagine just even before COVID. So it seems like the market has gotten used to this level of ADRs, and you're seeing that across Asia Pacific as well. But city hotels, I think in general, Gateway City is doing quite well. Select resort destinations also recovering very strongly.
There's been a lot of talk about luxury today, and there being perhaps a gap in the market for further luxury expansion in Vietnam. Do you think luxury is outperforming, Duc?
I would say that it depends on the property. It depends on the city, the location. But I don't think it's luxury that is outperforming the mid-segment, for example. I would say it's maybe if you look at a total returns basis, then historically probably if you are investing in a 4-star hotels, you might have higher IRRs.
And Kieran, what's the positioning of your hotels in the Maldives? Are they luxury? Are they?
Well, okay, one we're renovating to upgrade. The other one is lifestyle entry-level 5-star. But just overall, I think the greatest part of our business or our asset class is we can adapt to the environment, right? And in other asset classes, especially in real estate, you might be fixed yields. So as you know, the market dynamics change, we're able to adjust pricing, adjust how we drive, revenue into these hotels. So I think the region overall has been led by ADR. Occupancies start to now subtly come back. I mean, if you look at Thailand, vis-a-vis 2019, arrivals are up 35%, ADR is up 40% in the luxury segment. So we're seeing actually an increase in ADR in luxury, and that's typically where we invest, is because convincing a luxury traveler to push rate from 400 to 480, 500 is not such a big ask when you're in an economy hotel asking to stretch rates from $50 to $90. Plus, you can add added experiences and drive more, customer spend within your property by doing more experiences, more experiential experiences, and building more add-ons to the property.
Great, thank you. Michael, back to you. Vietnam's been heavily investing in infrastructure. It's recently been in the media that there's going to be 8 airports in Vietnam benefiting from improvements this year. We've got the Long Tan Airport opening, we've got improvements to the North-South Expressway, even talk of a high-speed railway. Do you think the government's doing enough on the infrastructure front? Would you like to see more, and where would that be?
I think we'd always like to say we'd always like to see more. But if you look at it, I mean, the amount of new bridges, new roads, new airports I have visited over the last 5 years, I don't think there's many places in the world that have grown this quickly. Vietnam spends about 6% of GDP on infrastructure every year, with a target to
One of the highest in the world.
Absolutely. Most countries in developing regions is about 2.5%. Most other countries in Southeast Asia, about 4%. We're talking about pushing it to 8%. As you know, the government is consolidating, looking to reduce the amount of government and push all that spending into infrastructure to boost the economy and boost efficiency. So do I think they're doing enough? Yes. Are we in a great position? No. The Tan Son Nhat Airport was built to handle a capacity of 28 million passengers a year. Right now, we're running at about 40 million passengers. That's why when you go there, there's lineups out the airport. So what we have right now, is it enough? No. But are they taking the right steps? Yes. So I think we're heading in the right direction.
We have got the new terminal opening at Tan Son Nhat in the next quarter, I believe. Yeah. Duc, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think there is a lot of willpower from the government to invest in infrastructure. And in fact, every year the disbursement in public investments lags behind the target, which is saying that the government wants to spend more, but it cannot due to a number of reasons. But I think in terms of investments, it's not just the infrastructure that is being completed, but it's also the connection, the overall planning, and then also the software, right? For example, this new terminal in Tan Son Nhat, it's going to open soon, but I still don't know how I am going to get there. I think the rumor is you're going to get there through the Army Road at the back, which would make sense, but it's still not clarified. And then when Long Tan Airport opens, I think obviously the highway might be congested going back to Ho Chi Minh City. And another thing is the software, right? So, we have a lot of new airports, and seemingly every province has an airport, but it's the airlift capacity that us hoteliers are concerned about. So, for example, we have a resort in Cam Ranh, but I think it's been improving recently. But post-COVID, the flights going there, I think, were a lot fewer than pre-COVID, so that was difficult for us, right? So, who is doing the work to get more airlines to fly there? It's that's a software part.
Thank you. Sergey, back to you. We've had a lot of talk about branded residences today. They're clearly a big talking point. There's lots going on. How do branded residences fit into your own investment strategy, and what are your thoughts on branded residences for Vietnam?
You know, branded residences is relatively new to Vietnam, just maybe 2-3 years. We see.
Michael might query
No.
that.
Well, at least we start talking about it more often than before. And as a developer, I think we need to be very responsible on what we do, and we need to make sure that the quality is in place. I'm not just talking about materials. I'm talking about the whole experience, because you know, 10 years ago, everybody was talking about condos, but you know, if you don't do a good job, people lose their confidence in the whole market segment. So this branded residences, of course, people pay premium, they expect something special. And that's why we believe that actually by end of this year, we're going to have one project in Hanoi. It's going to be branded. We got to be really careful about it. It's, first of all, it should not be too big. You know, it's not like thousands units. Make it like limited quality, and it's mostly because of land is so expensive now. So now more developers now start thinking about doing branded residences, doing something special, because it's so hard to get land now, especially in good locations. And yeah, I think it's quite potential. So we're going to do it. And another point I wanted to highlight is another point I want to highlight about branded residences is it's very different from what it used to be like 10 years ago. In the past, we were focusing a lot on foreign buyers. For Diamond Island, our first project, we did like 45% were foreign buyers. While today, we are not necessarily thinking about selling to foreigners anymore. Even it's like top premium quality brand project, it will be, I think, 90% plus will be local market. And this, again, coming back to regulations, we are looking forward to get the green light, because we still have buyers that are still waiting for the papers to be done. And if it's going to be solved soon, which is very real, and probably this year, we're going to have it done, sorted out, then more and more foreigners will be coming to Vietnam. And it's a great place for investment. We love Saigon, we love Hanoi, beautiful culture. I think there is very strong demand overseas. And let's see.
Some really good insights on the demand side there, yeah. Thank you. Michael, I'm going to switch to you. There's been Mandarin Oriental mentioned a few times today. Clearly some fans out there in the audience. You've got your Mandarin Oriental coming up in Phú Yên, and that's off the back of long-time successes with the Nam Hai, with Hyatt Regency.
Clearly we keep buying all these hotels.
We've got the ready buyer here once you're done. What's your take on branded residences, and particularly, is Phú Yên ready for a Mandarin Oriental and branded residence sales at those sort of price points?
I mean, am I going to sit here and sell you on the Phú Yên market and how robust it is? No, I don't think it's a great market. But I think Mandarin Oriental is a great product, and we're going to create a destination for it. We have less than 100 keys, and we know that type of experiential traveler is willing to take an extra flight to get to those kind of destinations for those type of experiences. And we're focusing on a very small percentage of jet setters that are willing to pay $2,000 a night to enjoy an absolutely private and secluded experience on a pristine beach. So I think for us, we're really banking on creating a destination out of the property, and it's very much what we did with the Nam Hai, now Four Seasons. There was nothing along that coastline, that Da Nang coastline, before we built that resort. And I was really shocked. You know, I was 25 years old meeting buyers at the Nam Hai, and I'm like, where did these people come from? How did they hear about it? But they were Adrian Zeka fans from Amman, because originally it was managed by GHM, which was an offshoot of Amman. And they were loyal followers, so they were willing to come from all ends of the earth, these hyper-wealthy people, to pursue that particular experience. So we're really banking on that resort creating a destination in its own. And I'm confident that it's going to work very well.
Well, having been to the location and heard the stories of Mandarin Oriental today, I'm absolutely convinced it will be a success. Yeah, very exciting. Chow, moving on to you. You're investing across the Asia Pacific. You're doing due diligence on projects across the Asia Pacific. Do you sense that the improved legal framework in Vietnam, and particularly the new land law, will make Vietnam more attractive to regional investors? And what key challenges maybe remain?
Okay, that question's because I'm a lawyer. All right, I think if for those of us that's been in Vietnam long enough, I think we've seen this Vietnamese laws going through change 2008, 2010, 2012. We're now going through that cycle again. So a short answer is I think changes are good. We see the new land laws in terms of compensation, although, you know, for big projects that we're doing out there in the new hospitality areas, that would be relevant. You've got the administrative, you know, the government pulling together or making it more efficient. We'll see how that goes as they pull themselves together. But I think in terms of land valuation, right, it's now market value. Whether is that good for investors or not, at least it's definitive. At least we know where we're going. We can price it better. We know what our coming in terms of pricing would be. But I think challenges are still there. Challenges in that the fact that for example, the valuation, as well, there's also a change where there's only certain land where you can choose to pay land rental in lump sum. Everything else is annual. So for investors, what that means is the bucket or the net of freehold land is going to be much more scarce, will be higher in terms of price, and there'll be a lot of competition out there. So all that means for investors would be in the upcoming or income coming into a deal, it will be higher. And yes, I think the returns would be higher because of the, I won't call it barriers, I'll just call it the challenges of getting there, getting the land and then getting your approvals. So the uncertainty has always been for developers or for investors would be to get the land, to get the permits and licenses in time that works for the feasibility study, and then finally to exit and be able to bring the money out. And I think those three stages are the ongoing life of an investor in Vietnam. And for those that are here and knows the way, that would be your advantage. Yeah.
Faster, cleaner entry and exit.
Correct.
And much better IRRs.
Yes, and if it's going to be more expensive for those that do have the money, that's where, you know, it'll go.
Sergey, any comments on that regarding the higher land use fees, higher land rents, which are inevitably going to get passed on to buyers? Do you think the demand's sustainable at higher price points?
I think we need to be really careful with our predictions. Because the demand is, yes, there is strong demand, but you know, people's income is still, you know, limited, and we need to take it into consideration. Be very careful about it, because lately we have few projects on the pipeline, and the estimated land tax is like nearly double to what we expected, and it's a big consideration because the original cost of acquiring this land is much higher than the government estimates, much higher. Maybe sometimes triple, sometimes fivefold. And that's why it's, I think it might be challenging to get a good piece of land with reasonable land use fees. I'm talking about residential part. I think hospitality-wise is fine. Yeah, it's fine. Still okay.
No, and I think it's a good discussion because, you know, I started off in the business doing land acquisitions for developers, and I learned very quickly, you win or lose on a development pretty much from day one. If you bought the land right, you can make a few mistakes and still make money. If you bought the land wrong, even if you do everything right, you'll still lose money, you know? So getting your land basis correct from the beginning is so important in this business. And that's why you'll find us in places like Phuket, where we can still buy land at rates where the development can actually make sense. There is no way I could ever do a Mandarin Oriental on the Da Nang Strip today or on the Cam Ranh Strip today or in a prime place in Phuket. The overall cost would be totally prohibitive and nothing would make any sense. So I think that's really the key point. And on our Wink Hotels platform, you know, we specifically focused on urban infill sites. These sites that are about 1,000 square meters, they're too small for the Sun groups, the Vincoms, the large local developers, the BIM groups, they don't want them. They're a little bit too big for a private individual real estate investor that doesn't have $10, $12 million to spend. But you know, for us, we were kind of the only ones looking at these sites, and we were able to acquire them for prices, again, that made sense for the model because there wasn't a lot of competition for a 1,000 square meter kind of mom and pop site in the middle of the city where we could quietly negotiate directly with a family. So that was actually, when we thought about the business model, we thought about the land acquisition strategy even before we got into anything else, because we were like, there's no point in creating an amazing business idea and we can't find any land for the business idea. So then it becomes worthless. So we really thought, you know, kind of bottom up, how do we find land at a reasonable price and then put something on top of it that'll make money. So that's really critical to how we look at everything.
Fantastic. Thanks, Michael. Kieran, moving back to you. A lot of developers in particular, but projects in general in Vietnam have been struggling for capital, struggling to access capital. Has this been opening up new opportunities for you in Vietnam and maybe elsewhere in the region as well?
No, I mean, it's a good question because we're not a developer, right? We don't take too much construction risk. We're in the business of buying off cash flow, but given the environment, we've kind of altered that slightly. So we do take a little bit more risk in terms of construction, but it needs to be like 70% built. So, you know, people have run out of money like that, and we take majority, we can bring them in and share a little bit of upside on exit. But as we discussed in terms of pricing, you got to convince these people we're going to even reach those prices, right? So we found a couple opportunities where we have like last mile financing, but more on the equity side. I mean, of course, Ares as a company, you know, we're really big on the private credit side. So as a platform, we're able to join forces and kind of work on these projects together. So, you know, what makes sense for equity or what makes sense for credit, we're able to find a solution for these projects. And that goes across the region, not just Vietnam, it's everywhere.
Yeah. Chow or Duc, more deal flow? Chow?
Yes, I think the statement 2008 will apply. King, you know, cash is king still. So I think to enter into Vietnam market at the moment because of the liquidity, because of the availability of sites or investments available, yes, of course, if we have capital, definitely Vietnam is a market that we're focusing on. But of course, with the same bucket of money, with all of APEC going after the same bucket of money, then that's where the pros and cons or the timing of availability and how do you come in and how do you exit would come into competition for that money. So yes, Vietnam has all its great pros, but still, in terms of timeline, it's harder to persuade.
I actually have a question for Kieran. How do you guys benchmark? Because traditionally people, you know, when we're dealing with kind of American capital, they would look at Vietnam and they'd say it's corrupt, It's risky, it's unpredictable, the currency is unpredictable, and I can get a 15% return doing the same kind of deal in the US. I want 25% in Vietnam. In an environment like this where your country is now kind of, in the US it's probably more corrupt, more unpredictable. The currency...
My country?
Oh, sorry, no. Sorry, in the US. So how do you now, when you're looking abroad at returns, has that changed the way you guys look, given that there is a lot of uncertainty in North America right now, or in kind of the core markets on a risk-adjusted basis?
No, I mean, it's actually an amazing question. So when we talk to LPs, especially in the previous years, you invest in the S&P, you make 20%. So why are you investing in a higher returns, higher risk fund like ours, right? So I guess it goes back to track record and demonstrating what we've been able to return in the past. So you kind of use your past experience, and I think that's what keeps us disciplined too. So when we do go into acquisition, we're not a manager that just deploys so I can make money. We're very focused on exactly what we're targeting, and I walk away from way more deals than I actually do because of that. The simplest form is track record and still trying to get to those levels of return. So yeah, we're still getting 25% IRR, that's why I have more gray hair and losing more hair, but yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, I think time for the last question, because everybody is desperate to get to the bar. So starting at Sergey, far end.
Neil, but we'd love to buy you guys a drink before we
we've got
finish.
drinks on the way, okay.
Yeah, even more over there, because very soon there will be the Oscar. You are the one that need to start it, and our minion will take it directly from you.
It's time to...
Thank you, minions. Okay, whilst the minions arrive...
I guess it's time to become more optimistic, guys.
Sergey, which geographies in your case, or countries if you want to
we
go
start
outside
investing
of Vietnam.
in the Middle East from this year.
Where are you going to be focusing in 2025?
Of course,
investments or workload?
No, Vietnam is our main market, of course. We're also doing business in, as you know, in 11 countries. Also from this year, we go into Dubai. We have set up an entity in Dubai and doing in the Middle East. At Vietnam, we are still we are here and for the long-term game. 15 years already, and Vietnam will be our main market. I just want to say that probably in the next few years we'll see that the market will become a little bit more consolidated. A lot of small developers will be having a difficult time, struggling because of the land tax, paying upfront, I don't know, $50 million, $100 million. Not a lot of companies can do it, and that's why it used to be like more open, it's more easy to enter the market, but probably in the future we will see it will be hard and hard, and only big guys will stay in the game. That's what this is my personal prediction, and more like towards the outskirts, like provinces, not much opportunity in the city area. That's why maybe we see that all the cities are growing. Ho Chi Minh is doubling in size.
Okay, so maybe more suburban area development for you. Yeah, okay. Michael?
I've actually become an industrial real estate expert over the last 24 months, and I'm probably going to do that for a while. It's pretty easy. You put up 4 walls, a slab, a roof. You lease it out, the cash flows are good, the liquidity is great, you don't get as many gray hairs, so definitely going to balance out both. But I've been sitting here for the last 20 years, and I'll probably be sitting here for the next 20 years, so Vietnam all the way.
Excellent. Thanks, Michael. Lisa Marie.
First off, I just want to say that this is the first panel I've ever been on where I've been given whiskey on the panel. And also a special shout out because my husband is Irish. I have been to Bushmills several times in the distillery, so thank you. Thank you, Mara, for that. I think from a hospitality perspective, since that's the focus, but also from a Resi perspective, Resi, Australia for us is still very strong in New South Wales, but Resi here, good in that higher end, but certainly hospitality, definitely in Vietnam, hopefully a little more urban in in terms of the opportunities, the infill, that kind of smaller scale personality piece. We think that's the next business market here. So we're loving that.
Great. Hope to see you more and more in Vietnam. Duc.
Our focus for the next few years will be the development of almost 6,000 units at the Grand Ho Tram. It's an integrated resort project with expected gross development value of $700 to $800 million. So it's a huge undertaking, and that's where we'll be focusing most of our energy on.
A certain airport project to help you along the way. Ciao.
So we're very deep in data centers, Japan, Korea, hospitality, very much into Japan, and hospitality, like I said before, it'll be Vietnam as a focus country, and then of course opportunistic being the other that we focus in. But yeah, you'll see me more in Vietnam.
Last year was the Maldives. We bought 2 hotels there because we were able to find the spread between interest rates and our cash flow buys. So we found value add there. But this year is Thailand. We're finding a lot of opportunity there. So there I'm not sure if everyone's aware, but during COVID, hotels went into a warehouse, basically where the government supplemented interest rates. And now that rates are up 40%, they're like, well, we want our money back, and people don't want to really pay that. So we're finding a lot more opportunity there. But of course, we'd love to do more in Vietnam. We historically owned 3 hotels here. We're down to 1 now. So always on the lookout, always opportunistic.
Excellent. Could we have a round of applause for our panelists, please? Great to hear that Vietnam is very much on the agenda. And with a bit of government assistance, we can welcome the new era. Thank you all for attending. Could we also have a big round of applause for Mauro and his team?
Thank you, honored speaker, and everyone for joining us today. So that concludes the content part. Now is the entertainment and connecting and networking part. So we will start the host and I out there in the foyer, on the exhibition room, as well as outdoor. So please cheer for the future.